Welcome to interesting, so interesting. It's the moment in the dark when a match gets lit. Your brain starts thinking and it just won't quit. It's not loud, it's a whisper that chills the spine, where truth hides deep, hidden by design. Welcome to interesting, 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 interesting. Not facts, not fiction, it's the realm in between, where answers are still questions and interesting. It's the glitch in the code, the flicker in the stream, the ghost in the machine, the wet to this dream. You feel it in your gut when the silence speaks, in the crack of the mask when the real one peaks. It's the question that lingers, the itch in the brain that says, nah, that ain't right, when they try to explain. Welcome to interesting, 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 interesting.
Yeah, they could be saying it, now I'm famous. Sold a movie to Netflix trying to shame us. They took the money while I put you before everything. The worst thing you can say about me is
Interesting.
I tasted both cold and cosmos, both north and south. Saw the sun circle while excuses ran out. Always honest and sometimes right, what a sight. I flew to the south and proved it wasn't a night. Flat earth shook, yeah, I watched them cry. Call me a shield cause I watched the sky. Vape gate, drone gate, no shoe print lies. Got the glow proof worth 3 Bitcoins, right? I'm a truther who went on a trip right back to facts. But it wasn't what the truthers wanted, so they attacked. From space to scams, from cults to kings. When you put a ripple in the comments cause it's interesting.
Welcome to interesting, 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 interesting. It ain't about clout or the loudest claim. It's the fire that burns when they forget your name. It's the glimmer in the static, the pulse in the void, the looking in places you're told to avoid. It's the sobbing for thunder, the hush before proof. We almost stumble cause that's the path to the truth. It's a lighthouse bleeding from a coastline, and maybe a distress signal, but only the truth can save me. Welcome to interesting, 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 interesting. Oh, so interesting, oh, interesting, it's so interesting, it's so interesting. Oh, so interesting, oh, so interesting, it's so interesting, it's so interesting, it's so interesting. Oh, so interesting, oh, so interesting. Even to the show where we keep the truth clean. All I do is welcome you. This is interesting. Welcome to interesting, 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 interesting. Oh, so interesting, that's so interesting. Interesting. This is interesting. Welcome to interesting, 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 interesting. Oh, so interesting, that's so interesting. Interesting.
Welcome to Interesting. I'm your host, Sharon from Jeranism. We are in the interesting arena. We are ready to go, ready to get down and boogie. Sorry about yesterday. My wife got a little bit ill. She's still not feeling 100%, but she is able to take care of the child today. The child. Hopefully you guys are well. It is the 25th, I believe, of October. Am I right? Let me check the date over here. I got to see behind there. It is the 25th. Yes, it is. Ignore the date on the screen that says 24th. That is wrong. We are going to be covering in this 4th episode of Interesting. It's going to be a behind the curve. This is kind of the reason for the name of the show and kind of what I'm known for a little bit. So we want to get down to it because I still don't think people understand it. And certainly Globers don't, as they continue to think that something was proven there or shown there. And all that did was prolong my brain lacking escapades in the flat earth is what that documentary did. So let us get going. Let me see who's in the chat. Hope everybody's well. If you could do me a favor, please, 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 can you share the show? Can you click like? I don't think enough people do that. You might not think it helps. It does help the algorithms, which I am not in favor of right now, or they're not in favor of me. So if you could do that, hit like, and then share the show with your social media following, your backers, your subscribers, whatever you want to call them. That would be helpful. Let's get some more people over here. I would be the utmost in appreciation ever possible. All right, so let me see what we're going to do to start. I did have some things from the interesting file over here. But let me start with a little intro. Let's see, what do we got here? That's for today, that's for today, that's for today. Okay, very, very good. Oh, that is what I was going to watch from the beginning. We'll watch this just to start it out because I think it's interesting. Glad I told you that I would bring up things if I thought that they were relevant or not relevant. But what was that? It sounded like somebody ordered something. What did I get an order for? Shopify item for $3. What did somebody buy from my store? Do I still have the $3 15-minute? I might have the $3 15-minute consultation on there. So if somebody wants a consultation, that's cool. All right, let me get this a little bit more squared up. We've got to, I guess that'll work for now. That should work. This is real too. This is not one of those, I don't think it's CGI. I don't think it's AI. I just wanted to start with this. This is from Reddit. This is have you seen this? The chimp that sees this guy's prosthetic leg and just like loses his mind? It's like, no. What? Larry, come over here. This motherfucker's got a fake leg. Show him. What? You talking about this? No. You do not. Mary, come over here. Yeah, check out this motherfucker's got a broken leg. Get out of here with that metal leg. Yep, metal leg. No, we don't like metal legs. That's fucking crazy. Pretty cool. I don't know why they're so shocked by it. And then he actually starts taking it off and putting it back on. I don't know where that video went. I thought I saved it, but I don't see it in here. But anyway, that was hilarious. How would they even know? Those monkeys are funny. They are funny. Let's bring you on here. We've got the interesting arena. We've got also, we're by the ocean today, which is nice. I do appreciate the relocation. Thanks to NASA shill groups that move us around and keep us safe from all the crazies like Sam and his little buddy over there, Vlad, in the robe. Always fun stuff. Always fun stuff over there. Otherwise, it's just people have lost their minds. One or the other, right? One or the other is what's going on. So let's see here. Welcome back, obviously, to Interesting. It is the show where we don't just react. We don't do that. We investigate. Okay, we look into things. We dig deep. We don't just believe in what we're told. Is we verify, which is what everybody should do, right? And we don't let anybody, whether that be Netflix, whether that be Delta V Productions, whether that be Neil deGrasse Tyson, whether that be NASA, or some loser with a bow tie. Doesn't matter who it is. We're not going to tell them. We're not going to let them tell us what to think. We're just going to think for ourselves and admit when we're wrong, admit when we've made a mistake, so that we can go back and correct it. But tonight, man, we're stepping into that sacred propaganda territory. Tonight we're talking about the documentary Behind the Curve. I'm sure you've seen it. If not, you don't want to. You know the one. That's the one everybody loves to wave around like it's some sort of proof that crushed the flat Earth movement, and it's just not. And I'll explain why. Did it prove Globers right? Well, I'll explain why not. So, funny thing is, though, through all this, they forgot, Globers and flat Earthers really have forgot one tiny thing, and that's that they lied. Okay, that's the basis of this video, the basis of the story. And I'm going to show you receipts. Receipts. And not like they made a little oopsie, we made a mistake lie. No, I mean, they misrepresented people. They edited out facts. They twisted content. They made changes, and they completely butchered the story of our experiment on purpose, right? So before anybody cries and says, well, Jaron, you're just mad because they made you look dumb, let me make sure something is very clear. Okay, I'm not mad that they made me look dumb. I'm a former flat earther, right? I've said it 1,000 times. That experiment they filmed, I was there, by the way. I was fucking part of it. Hell, I organized the damn thing. I'm not scared of failure either. And failure is how you learn. It's how you grow, okay? What I'm mad about is absolute fraud. And that's what it was. It was fraud. It was a dishonest narrative, dishonest editing. It was basically the creators of that movie, Daniel Clark and Caroline Clark, no relation. Yeah, right. They were pretending to be scientists or something. And they're basically lying. And I'll show you exactly who they are and why I think that they've been dishonest even further. And they've got other instances of this where this is what they do. They do documentary films where they misrepresent people to get what they want, their point across in the movie, but they're being paid to do it. And I'll show you that as well. So somebody's doing that. But guess what? Real science isn't afraid of data. Real science isn't afraid of the truth. It's not afraid of questions. The only thing that's afraid of questions is propaganda, right? Real science isn't afraid to be wrong. What is afraid to be wrong? Propaganda. Propaganda, runs from questions. It runs from inquiry. And propaganda hides the full story, which is what they did here. So tonight we're not going to rage. We're not going to whine. We're just going to show receipts, show you the actual data. We're going to break down exactly what happened with that experiment, what the film crew left out, how they shaped that narrative before we even set up any cameras, and why this film was never about science at all, even a little. It was about controlling the crowd, controlling a conversation when they're too afraid to approach it honestly. So what's really sad to me is that these directors of this movie, now that I know that the Earth's a sphere, it's pretty pathetic that they couldn't come up with any proof of that. They had to misrepresent a flat earther's experiment. Just take your money and go prove the shape of the Earth. But you did it the wrong way. You did it at the expense of others and by lying to others, and now you're pieces of shit. That's to you and Daniel and Caroline, both of you. Combined for 2 pieces of shit. 2 is better than 1, though, so that's not bad. At least you're not 1 piece of shit. You're combined 2. It's good for you. If you're here for hype, well, you're not at the right place. It's not what you're going to find here. If you're here for the truth, even though it's uncomfortable, we'll grab a seat because this is interesting. Let's get going. Let's do it.
Welcome to Interesting.
Ba-ba-ba-ba-da-da-da.
Welcome to Interesting. Welcome to Interesting. Interesting.
Stop stressing, depressing. Your chest is congested. Such a blessing. Confessing, interestingly digesting. Sandy Hook, Aurora, pulse that club tricks, gun control, false flags, pushing politics. Thomas Crooks is on the roof, ready for the shot. Wait, how did he get up there without being caught? Shit. January 6th was a psyop, CA actors all around. Gaslit on 9/11, how did building 7 come down? Shout out to Stoneman, Douglas, another ruse. Fuck the MK Ultra asset impacting the coons. The Boston bombing finish line wasn't any fun. No, at that time Vegas that rebel 91. Emulate Paddock, had kiss it through a cat, San Bernardino black SUV, where the fuck you at? Morning attack, you waited 6 hours, and then you went back? Nah, can't be different, was shot straight through the brain. Mark Kelly with the surgery to fly the shuttle. Hustle lame, Stonehenge, how'd you get the rock so high? With this brain pretty easy, why the lie? Shout out to Charlie and Ashley, baby, too. Sucks that your children have to grow up without you.
Welcome to Interesting. Welcome to Interesting. Welcome to Interesting.
Welcome to Interesting. It is time for episode number 4. We're going to be talking about Behind the Curve. If you feel at any point throughout this video that you'd like to support the show, you can do so at Cash App $jeranism. And so far we are running at a total of 0 people who have donated this month of October to the Cash App. So that's nice. Let's get that to 1. Can we get to 1? That'd be nice. All right. So Behind the Curve is this movie. You can find it for free now on Tubi. You have to look at some ads throughout it. But I thought we'd just start with a couple points about the movie. I'm not going through the whole thing. I'm just covering my position. First of all, I do want, if anybody's out there and into looking things up, finding out the truth of things, researching, if you will, find out if these 2 people are married or what is their, I can't ever figure it out. The chances that you have the head producer and the co-producer, who both work for Delta V, being Daniel Clark and Caroline Clark, is very strange to me. Spelled the same way, C-L-A-R-K, not with an E. Daniel and Caroline Clark. Now, when they were together, and I asked them, they shook it off. No, we're not. We don't know. We're not together. We're just, we're friends. We work for the same company. I want to say I doubt that. I do think that they're a husband and wife team, and I do think that they are dirt bags as well. So I'll explain why. I'll show you evidence. There you go. It's well, it did say his name at the bottom there, but you'd think you'd be able to find out if they're married or if that's their. Who knows? Who knows? But I'll show you why they are dishonest. Okay, I will show you. But let's start out with how I got involved with this. They basically called me and said, "Hey, we heard you're doing an experiment. Can we film it?" I said, "Yeah, sure. Come on by, film it. That'd be great." I didn't know who was going to film it anyway, so that would be helpful. And They said, okay, so like a day before that event, they said, hey, Daniel's going to be out there a day early and he wants to come by your house and get some idea of what's going to be going on tomorrow. So can you do that? Sure, come on by. So he comes by and he's holding a little camera, like a little handheld camera that I don't know, a Nikon Coolpix, a little, $100 camera, something like that. And he comes over and he's just filming me as I'm talking about, he's asking me questions about the experiment, explaining to me how this is going to work, explaining to me how this is going to work. He never told me at any point, and I'm not saying he had to. I guess I should have thought about it. He just never told me, oh, this could show up in the film. I thought that we were doing a documentary. I thought that we were doing an experiment, and he was coming to film that. And then he was coming to my house a day early to find out about the experiment. So when we're sitting on the couch, I never even knew that he was filming me to put me in the movie. So to start out is never fun when you see that. And I thought it was right about here, somewhere 50-something, right in here. When they first show me, I'm sitting on my couch with no idea that this is going to be part of the film. Upsetting to find out when it was. You're like, what? Where were you filming me during that? So I don't see it. 54. It's going to be right here. 55. It's got to be right in here somewhere. I know it's in the 50s. Haven't seen it yet. Where are you? There we go. So here is, let's see, right here we'll start. Turn this up.
So what I just told you is confidential.
Okay, I won't say it.
Not any one single experiment proves anything conclusively. That's why we're building a preponderance of evidence.
I think there's a few more experiments we could do with lasers and leveling. I think Jaren's working on a great experiment now that's going to help with all that.
Chris Van Matry, good guy.
It's just like our new
I
house.
have to go to an ad here. Just give it a second.
I hope you.
There's lots of ads. We're watching it for free. We're not paying them money. Which they've made plenty off this. I've heard 6 figures. I don't know how high in the 6 figures they made off this, but that's what I've heard. And let me pick it up from here.
Drive time makes it easy.
Oh, there's another ad. So anyway, to start out, they were not very honest about coming to my house. You think you'd film somebody, you'd say, hey, we're coming by to film tomorrow for the documentary. Not, hey, we're coming out to find out about the experiment and learn about it, and then be filming me with a little tiny camera that I thought was like for archival reasons, not for putting in the documentary. Which doesn't make any sense to me. Is he put footage that he filmed off of a little handheld camera in a documentary. Just weird to me that that's not something that they... Hello? Can we move past this? Let's go. There we go. So this is just him filming in my house here, Victoria Canal in Holt, California. It's a 3.88 mile stretch. We're going to actually have set up 3 posts, one at the start. So now one of the things that people don't realize about this whole thing is that we had an original experiment, which was to take a laser, one at the end, basically send it along this line here, marking it at the first post, saying how far is that above the water level. Let's say it's 8 feet. And then you move down here and you mark it at 8 feet above the water level. And then you have somebody slide the second panel into the middle. And when they do, it better hit at 8 feet. Or if it hits lower than 8 feet, then you would be looking at a curved earth. Okay? Because basically you've got this, it would be a hump in between the 2 8 feet, which means this would push this stick up and the stick in the middle would be hit at a much different height. So we went out there, and here's the problem. And we knew this going in there. The problem is that when you purchase a laser, they give you the specs of the laser, right? The MRAD, all these different facts and figures. But the problem with it is that all of that is in a factory setting. Say, so none of that has anything to do with the real world. When you go out in the real world, you have atmospheric refraction, you've got atmosphere, you've got all this garbage you have to deal with. And it often, again, is going to screw up. You definitely look better with your head shaved, just saying. Thank you. Thank you, Benny. Appreciate that. It's probably just because I was lazy then. I know everybody thinks I shave my head because I have receding hairline or something. I have all my hair. I just, my hair does not look good grown out. Don't know what to tell you. Hold on. Let me see what this guy's talking about. Oh,
They're in trouble here.
so like the laser, like for your cat. So like this guy here, I mean, I didn't like this part of the movie. This is my neighbor's house when I lived in Salinas. And it's like held up by like cinder blocks and there's a million cats living underneath it. But I thought that this was made to look like my house. Because we were just on the porch, and then they do this scene. 5 or even less milliwatts. So to me, it seems like they were trying to show that as my house. It seems like they were trying to show with a shitty camera. So this is... But yeah, I'm unshaven. I'm a mess. I was playing with this beam. I was just... As it gets further. Thought we were just having a little conversation. Didn't know it was going to be in the movie. Anyway. And if you put the expander on, it's supposed to get smaller. the most surprising thing I've learned is how hard experiments are. There's so many. So yeah, he's just in my kitchen there. Let's go a little bit further. So that was my first entry into the movie. And then they show the experiment the night of the... maybe have you guys do the middle station. We have these panels. We're going to try the panels instead of... So this is the...
Yeah, right about there.
Okay, let me see if we get the panel spot here. Because I wanted to show everybody what the panel was doing in between the middle at the far end. And then wherever... I think the beam gets smaller right now. Okay, tell me if it gets smaller. There.
The beam was taking up the whole panel.
So there you go. So the beam was taking up the whole panel. So one thing that happens is they give you a certain amount of MRAD, which should tell you what the beam should expand to when it goes a distance. But what we found out that night, the first night, was that we were expanding to about 15 feet. Now, the panels were only, 2 foot by, say, 8 foot tall. So they were not going to suffice in us being able to determine where that center of the beam was. I should work on the beam first. Man. So painful night because we just kept trying. And if you've ever, and I'm sure you haven't because I don't know why you would ever do this, but if you've ever tried to shoot a laser over 4 miles, just imagine you've got it lined up or whatever. If you just nudge it, touch it with your finger, just touch it and move it just a little bit on this end, it will move 25 feet on the other end, 4 miles away. So it became very tough for us to get it lined up. And then once we would get it lined up, then they would say the beam was too large, which means I needed to put on the expander and adjust it, which means I needed to grab the laser and touch it again. So when I did that, then it's of course not lined up. We have to put it back on the thing, get it back lined up, now have it. So it was just taking a lot of time to get it lined up correctly. I don't know what to do.
Not today.
You'll come back.
We have to, yeah. And you just got to.
So we decided to come back.
To make it work.
Now this is kind of going in order here. So the next thing that happens is we go to the international
I still don't
conference.
believe it.
Now I wanted to talk about the international conference because it was there where they were still asking me to be a part of the documentary, and I said, "Yeah, but our experiment failed. I don't see why we would do that. I don't see why you would need me." And they said, "Oh, well, we're going to go back and film the second time." I said, "Okay, well, if you do that, then you can ask for my signature there." Right? They were trying to get me to sign a document in North Carolina. And I kept saying, I don't understand. We just did the experiment. It failed. So I'm not going to sign anything. I don't need to sign to be on your documentary with our failed experiment. Didn't make any sense to me. So they basically said, okay, well, we'll talk to you in back at Holt. So I did ask them. I asked Caroline when I met them in North Carolina, both of them. They came to the event. And I asked Caroline, can I get a copy, if you don't mind, of your other work? Right? So if a documentary film producer is going to want to film you and do a documentary, then I just want to see their other work because maybe, what's that say? Oh. Caroline Clark. I'm just bringing up this my email here so I can find some emails from her. Okay, so this is the email from Caroline. I wonder if I've got it. Hold on one second. I might be able to do it on a print PDF form. Might be easier than looking at my email. Let's go to here. Yeah. Okay, so this is... No, I lied. Where is that file? This PC, and then we got to go with share. Yep. And be under PDF. Okay, here we go. Previous work examples. Okay. Are you going to open? Hold on, I tried to open a PDF and nothing's happening. Come on. So what happens when you have too many monitors? Like, where's this going to open at? Oh, here. Thank you. All right, so this is the email. Shoot. I don't know if you'll be able to see this there. Good enough. Should be able to see it enough. Yeah, so just an email from Caroline Clark to me. And she says, thanks so much for allowing Daniel to film with you during the laser experiment. I appreciate your time. As discussed in Raleigh, here are some previous work examples for you to review. Hope you're able to see the universal respect and consideration for each of... Oh, I don't know why that didn't adjust with the screen. Let's spread this out a little bit. All right, there we go. We really appreciate your time. Okay, we got that part. So hopefully you're able to see the mutual respect and consideration for each of our subjects. So then she lists all these documentaries. All Work, All Play, 2015, a documentary film about esports. If You Build It, a documentary film about an architect and designer. Catholics versus Convicts, a film about ESPN's 30 for 30. The Incredible Dr. Pol, a TV show on Nat Geo. So this is her examples of work. Okay. So now if somebody, let's say that I get on the phone with Neil deGrasse Tyson. I say, hey, Neil, will you come on my show? And he's like, oh, yeah, can you provide me with some other work that you've done? I say, sure. And I send him only my how to build garage shelves, how to distill your water, and how to save 90% on cigarettes. If I send him just those 3 pieces, is that dishonest of me? In my book, it absolutely is, right? If I'm asking Neil deGrasse on my show, he has every right to know kind of the content that I do, what my bread and butter is. You would not give him 3 examples that are out of the norm. You would give him something that is of your norm. So what we'll find here is that Caroline Clark left out one particular documentary that she's the most known for. Imagine that. Why would she leave out the documentary that she's the most known for? Unless she was doing it on purpose. Let me show you what we got that. You can just search if you want. Caroline Clark. Patrolling Sandy Hook. What? You mean she's done a documentary on a conspiracy theory? Wouldn't that be the very first thing that she would show me? If she's going to do a documentary on flat Earth, why wouldn't she show me that she did a video in 2016 called Patrolling Sandy Hook? Okay, I'll tell you why. Because she's been accused of many things when it comes to this particular movie. Okay? Let me show you first this YouTube video that has to do with that video, because what she did was, well, number one, she cheated, because the school, she was at Harvard and she was part of the Harvard film class, and they have a class assignment where everybody has to make a movie. Okay, equal, here, pair up into 2s and make a movie. Well, it was found out that she was given a huge grant that was supposed to go to the class. So there's a guy who donated a bunch of money to the class, but instead of the class getting the money, they gave it all to Caroline Clark so that she could produce a movie called Patrolling Sandy Hook, in which she won a bunch of awards. And the class, everybody in the class is like, this is horseshit. She got a big old grant and we didn't get anything. So how are we supposed to compete in a student project with a girl who got a grant for a bunch of money to go and expose Wolfgang Halbig? So let me bring up this real quick. I'm going to show you a video from Sandy Hook Justice. Okay, let me get this going.
At some point, but what was that like, and what was it like in those close quarters with them?
I'll start, but so this was a.
So this is at a filming, or whatever they call it, a showing. Okay, and let's go down here and look at. By the way, I checked this update. I just saw this today. It says update to this video. The Facebook page for the production Patrolling Sandy Hook was removed shortly after this video went live. Did you get paid to be in this documentary? No. Then it says a viewer of this channel presented these interesting connections as well. All of these links no longer work. So this link to whatever this says, it just goes to nothing. Nothing there. Anyway, you can believe me on that. It goes to nothing on all these links. This one here goes to a news site, but it doesn't. There's nothing here on that page. It's like it went to a generic news page. But you can see here that there's updates. Now, I'll read you what this says here. It says, University of Notre Dame students and filmmakers Caroline Clark and Kelly Quinn are confronted by a citizen journalist about the biased and deceitful methods that they used to produce the film Patrolling Sandy Hook. So imagine that. They're using biased and deceitful methods like they used with me. Okay? The 2 filmmakers have been honored at multiple film festivals. However, Caroline and Kelly are unable to answer some simple and honest questions about filmmakers, about fairness and academic integrity. The filmmakers cannot answer these questions about who directed them to target Wolfgang Halbig. Dr. Jeff Goudeau of Dallas, Texas, Medical Specialists Associated, donated funds to the Notre Dame film class, but the funds were not distributed equally to all the student groups. There apparently was a secret agreement that all the funds must be spent targeting Wolfgang Halbig, and that further propagandizing the story of Sandy Hook. Dr. Goudeau allowed Caroline and Kelly to keep all the funds for themselves while effectively assisting them in cheating on their class project, lending to their film being chosen as the winner of the Audience Choice Award in 2016 at the Notre Dame Student Film Festival. Totally just cheaters, liars. Caroline Clark and Kelly Quinn further described Wolfgang Halbig through misleading him and, I'm sorry, deceived. They further deceived Wolfgang Halbig through misleading him and by hiding the adversarial source that provided them with the funding. Caroline and Kelly proceeded to deceptively edit the footage taken and failed to include any of the mention of the several in-person interviews they filmed at Notre Dame with the alumni praising Wolfgang Halbig for his dedication to education and to public service. Lenny Posner received final cut privilege to decide what materials, both visually and verbally, would be included in the final cut of the Patrolling Sandy Hook documentary. And in here, you can just see they're asked the question at the end of why were you given this money? And why did you use it and feel it's okay to win awards when you were basically cheating?
Idea was it to interview Wolfgang?
I think just Wolfgang is very comfortable kind of running and being a public voice for
The question is, whose idea was it? Was it yours? Was it hers? Whose idea was it to go and interview him?
I think it was if you let me finish, I think it was a group effort. He is a very public voice, and we respected that he was so open, and he was actually very willing, and one of the most willing people we were able to reach out to, emailing and stuff. And so for that reason, I mean, it was everyone, we were in a class, so it was everyone's idea as well.
So we have to cut it anyway, guys, because we have an 8 o'clock show.
Oh man, they're just saved. Again, he had asked them about the funding that they got, and they froze up, and then the lady says, we got to cut this, we got a showing coming up, we're done. And they didn't have to answer the question, which is why were you given a grant, and why was that allowed to be used in a student project when everybody was going against each other and they weren't given grants at all? They weren't giving any funding, so why were you given funding and then you got first place and everyone's just supposed to close their eyes?
Thank you.
So this guy's hanging out at this film festival after, and all these people are like just being weird. As he tries to film things, they'll walk in front of him, they'll say things to him, this guy starts pushing him. For what reason? Who knows? Just because they're being weird. Let me show you here, we'll go a little further. See, he's like standing in front of him, he's like, guy, get out of my way. Purposely getting in his way.
It's a public sidewalk, sir.
Look at these people, watch. She's like trying to stand in front of him.
Excuse me.
Like, why are you?
Excuse me. You're right in front of me. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
standing
see
right
you.
in front of me.
So sorry.
Okay.
All right.
Weirdos. They're just acting weird. Anyway, the people finally come out, and of course they won't talk. They just storm off. Caroline and whatever the other girl's name is. There they go.
Find out. It's a public place. It's a public place. First Amendment. First Amendment.
Okay, so that was just to show you that I've accused Caroline Clark of deceptively editing this film. I've accused Caroline Clark of being deceptive with me in conversations. And if it was just that, you could chalk it up to, well, Jaren's just saying that. But when you find out that she deceptively told me about documentaries that she had already done, but she left out the one that's a conspiracy theory when she went against conspiracy theorists, where she's then doing a film about the flat earth. And this is because if she would have told me that, I wouldn't have been in her film. So do you understand that that is deceptive? She used lies and deception in order to get me in her film. And yet everybody celebrates people like this, like that's cool to do, when it's just not. Okay. So let me show you another thing that shows you how deceptive that they are. They have in an interview, or they've said in an interview, that the reason that they chose to make this a hit piece, which they did, they said originally they wanted to do it for the right reasons and show us in a good light. And then they saw Mark Sargent talking to a child in North Carolina, and they said, oh shit, we need to make this a hit piece. We don't want children learning about flat earth. So now here's the problem with that. That was taking place on, and I don't want to get the dates wrong here. We're going to go and we're going to check it out. We're looking up the North Carolina Flat Earth 2017. I don't remember the date exactly. We'll find out here. So in November 2017, yeah, but what date? Details of the, let me see if I can find the date. Anybody find the date? Let me see if I can find it here. I do see November 28th. It is a stunt worthy of Evel Knievel view of the flat Earth phenomenon. Inside the flat Earth. Here we go. Let's see what this one is. Do we have a date here? Trying to get. Does anybody know the date that the November? How would I find that date? I guess I could go. Is the original site still up? Flat Earth Conference. Probably not. 2017. Got to find that date, and you'll see the reason why here. Flat Earth Conference interviews. What? No. I want the first ever Flat Earth Conference. Here we go. Let's see. Flat Earth theorists gathered in North Carolina for the first ever. This article's on November 19th. Let's see here. It just says review. Okay, around 500 people paid $249 a piece. Okay, well, we know according to this, it says last update November 19th, and it was written on November 19th. So I'm just going to guess that it was around there, but let me see. So it's November 19th, 2017. I do know that it was on the weekend. That's all I see so far, but let's see if that helps us enough, because we have to know the date that that conference was, because they've already been in a interview, and they stated that where they changed their mind to go from not a hit piece to a hit piece was at the conference. They said they walked away from the conference knowing that they were going to make it a hit piece instead. So, or that they were going to go against Flat Earth and make it, not about showing us in a good light. Now, the problem with that is if I bring this up now to you, I'm going to show you the release that I signed. Okay, this is the release. There you go. It came up pretty quickly. And you'll see here 11/25/19. Okay, so here's the problem with that. Is that just tells you, or 17, sorry. This was after. Okay, so after the conference, that they'd already decided that they would be doing a hit piece. They're following me around the experiment, begging me to sign this document. It's there that I found out I was the only one left. So they had everybody else sign it. In fact, I was even like, well, you didn't get anybody to sign it from this experiment. They're like, no, we already did last time. Like, what? Like last experiment, we got everybody to sign but you. So I was literally the only one left. Now, let me show you, here's the problem with ever signing one of these and why I would never sign one again, why I didn't sign one with Will Duffy. You'll notice that it says here, I agree to be interviewed by Daniel James Clark, his successors and assignees, collectively you, a company shooting a documentary motion picture currently entitled Untitled Flat Earth Project. Okay, sorry. If you interview me, I understand that you propose to photograph, record, and or videotape the interview and to use portions thereof in the documentary. In consideration of the agreement, can I get this any larger? Hold on one second. I'm not being able to see very well. Browser. Let's get this a little bigger for me, because I can't read it. There we go. It's better. All right. In consideration of the agreement to interview me, I irrevocably agree that you may use the interview in the documentary, and I further agree that you may exhibit and use the documentary and material concerning me by any means of execution, which may use the interview and scenes concerning me as well as my name, image, voice, performance, and likeness in connection with the advertising and promotion of the documentary throughout the world in perpetuity. This release is given without the promise of compensation. I hereby acknowledge that all the results of the proceeds of my services are work made for hire, and if not, I hereby irrevocably grant and assign to be owned by you all rights, title, and interest in my interview and performance. I understand that you have been induced to proceed with the production, distribution, and exploitation of the documentary in reliance upon this agreement. I understand that you are not obligated to use the interview or the materials, and that if you do elect to use the same, you may change, edit, add, or subtract from the interview or materials as you see fit. People, do never be an idiot like me. Now, as I was reading this to him, I said, I'm not going to sign this, dude. I said, I'm giving you permission to do whatever you want. It says, you agree that any portrayal of me in the documentary will be made in good faith. You'll notice that there's an underline there. The reason that that's underlined is because in person, I underlined that in good faith and said, I'm signing this under duress because I want to make sure that you know that I'm signing it because it says in good faith. It says, however, I acknowledge that you may portray me in the manner that you consider appropriate. I mean, this is the dumbest thing anyone's ever signed in their life. I agree not to disclose any information relating to you or the documentary to any person, corporation, or other entity. All such information shall be kept strictly confidential and secret by me unless I receive prior written approval from you to disclose any such information. Well, when they started lying, I said, screw them, forget that. All the above rights are granted without any restriction, blah, blah, blah. So here's the problem with this. That means that when he followed me around at the documentary on the 25th of November of 2017, that he already knew that he was going to be making a hit piece. Okay, he already knew that, and he was lying to me when he had me sign this document. Okay, when you tell somebody, oh, everything's going to be in good faith, it's on the up and up, when secretly you have the desire to misrepresent somebody, when you have a desire to make a hit piece, that is called being deceptive. That is being called a dirtbag. Daniel Clark, you are a fucking dirtbag. Your wife or that ugly blonde that's with you is also a dirtbag. Both you, dirtbags. Not a fan of dirtbags, and you guys definitely are in that column. Because guess what? I don't go around and lie to people to get them on my show. I don't have them sign documents that say I'm going to do something in good faith when I've already decided in my head that I'm going to be doing a hit piece. Why don't I do that? Because that would be deceptive, and that would make me a dirtball. And there's enough of those in the world that you don't need another. You guys obviously are in that club. Now, let me get this over here. So that shows you that both of them lie. Now we know Daniel lies. We know that Caroline lies. We know that they're deceptive. They were deceptive with Wolfgang Halbig. They were deceptive with me. And the way that they presented me in the documentary, which I'll show you here shortly. So we got that out of the way. Let's close that. Close current tab. What? Close all these tabs. What is this? Oh yeah, so that's the list of the stuff that they were going to give me. Okay, I got another one for you here. This is... Okay, so now the movie comes out, and I find out that I'm misrepresented in the movie, and I kind of start going on a tirade of figuring out how I'm going to get out of this or explain this. Okay, so let's move it here. Let's grab this, move it here. Okay, so these are going to be some emails back and forth between Karen, and I want to show you again how they've lied and misrepresented me completely. So, oops. I don't know if this starts at the bottom or top. So basically they say, hey, we're here to announce Behind the Curve will be available worldwide on such and such date. And then I said here, oh, let's go up a little bit further. I said, hi, Caroline. Shoot, I'm going to have to zoom in on this again. I can't see. There we go. Make this a little larger. All right. I said, hello, Caroline. As I am sure you know, I have taken a lot of heat regarding this movie and the fact that you included, come on, get all the way over there. There we go. You included an out-of-sequence moment to include. Now, remember, if somebody emails you this and they accuse you of doing a video that's misrepresenting them and deceiving them, then you would respond by saying, we did not misrepresent you. We did not deceive you. If they don't say that, it's kind of the admission of guilt. I've taken a lot of heat regarding an out-of-sequence moment to conclude the movie, as to show as if their curve was proven. Of course, as you know, only you have the footage. I would need to show people that this moment was out of sequence. However, you guys changed your minds and now have decided to not give me any of the additional footage, which was the plan before. But I do understand that now you claim that the contract states that none of the other footage can be given to me or ever shown. Do you happen to have a copy of that agreement that I can see? Of course, they never provided one. They've just verbally told me that Netflix said they cannot give me any of the footage. Of course not, because if they did, I would prove them to be liars and deceivers. They can't have that. I would appreciate it. Or instead of the contract, can we just arrange a quick interview or statement admitting that the scene was used out of sequence and did not accurately portray our observations at night? A simple statement would be put this all to bed. I assume the statement would look something like this. So now I'm giving my opinion of what the statement should look like. Okay, and now if it's completely misrepresenting them, wouldn't they say so? Let me say what the statement says. To whom it concerns, on the night we filmed Jaren's experiment, many observations were made, some that would lean towards a curved earth and some that would lean towards a flat earth. At the conclusion of the evening, everyone involved, this included both flat earth proponents and globe earth proponents, all agreed that nothing was proven or shown to be definitive. For our movie, however, we decided to place in one such observation that leans towards a curved earth as the final scene of the movie. We did this because, insert whatever reason you would like here, we also had originally told Jaren that after the movie was sold that we would be able to give him some footage from that evening. However, due to contractual obligations around the selling of the film, we can no longer provide said footage as we originally agreed. Thanks kindly, the producers. Then I said, this would mean a lot to me, and also it would be very truthful. I remember being hesitant about including myself in this film, and I can remember you guys speaking to me directly in North Carolina and Daniel speaking to me directly in Holt, the night that I signed the document. You both spoke about being in good faith and honestly portraying the people and events around your documentary. Now, as I said, for the most part, I thought you did an excellent job in doing this, so throughout most of the movie. However, filming my neighbor's house, held up by cinder blocks and surrounded by stray cats as if it were my house, was not very honest, and obviously the final scene was totally dishonest. If you deal in honesty, as both you have assured me, then I see no issue with you sending me the above statement, which is 100% true. If you refuse to do this, then I feel that I was lied to, and I will go forward from that perspective. Thank you very much, Jaren. She wrote back. It's going upwards, I think, though. Yes. So this is her saying, Jaren, I sincerely apologize for the delay in responding to your email. It has been a week, and I needed some time to review the footage and experiment before responding to you. She says, there were alignment attempts where the light was visible at both heights, 17 feet and 23 feet. Now, was this in the movie? In the movie, did they tell you that that we did see the light at 17 feet? No, they did not. And neither height, 17 or 23. Did they show you the part of the movie? So hopefully you can already see there's a problem. You don't get to pick and choose which this is the thing that Globers tell flat earthers all the time. You don't get to pick and choose which experiment you use. That's what they did in this movie. So every time I hear a stupid Glober talk about this movie, it's hilarious to me because they're doing exactly what they accuse everybody else of. You cannot take one observation out of 20 and say that that shows what you want it to show and therefore your side was proven. It's retarded. Okay? She says, there were no results that there was only one moment where the light appears to be visible at only one height, at 23 feet, which is the clip we used in the film. It's not true, and I'll explain why. There's no way we could have seen it at 23 feet. That's way too high for a person standing. I'll show you. There were no results that yielded a flat result, namely the light shining only at 17 feet, not 23 feet. The only possible explanation that would nullify the globe result, light visible at 23 and not at 17, is that there is an obstruction at the low height of 17 feet. There is no obstruction. This is how dumb this bitch is. She's so confused. She's talking now about the original experiment. She's talking, she put, in behind the curve, you state, the person that was the globe believer was saying, isn't that proof the earth curves? Well, then the guy who was at the middle said, no, it's hitting the weeds. She's talking about a different experiment. What light is hitting the weeds? We are looking through a camera at a light. We're not looking, there's no laser here. She said, in addition, we also included you saying, then we tried to do it again, like to replicate that result, and we didn't get the same result. There was just nothing that we could walk away from and say for sure was decided. So you knew that that was our position. Everybody at the event said the same thing, yet you included it as the final scene of your movie. How is that not deceptive? How is that not deceiving people? Nobody agreed with what you put in your movie. Nobody was there. It says these two quotes were pulled from your Globebusters NASA Bashing 2.0 show and acknowledge that you concluded that there could be an obstruction and that you determined the results to be inconclusive. She's talking about the laser. She's not even on the right experiment. She's so dumb. Both of these quotes from behind the curve appear in the 1 hour 34 mark of the film. Finally, we apologize for the confusion surrounding the shot of your neighbor's house. That shot is in the movie because you say like a laser for your cats, and we cut away to the cats watching you with the laser. It was not intended to look like your house at all, since we were talking with you on your porch at the time. Please let me know if you have any additional questions or if I can clarify further. So again, I come back and say, here, well, I feel like I need to review the footage you are saying that you've seen that shows this, since it was the observation in the middle of the evening and one that couldn't be replicated as you stated. Then it is not a definitive result and shouldn't have been. As I stated, people are saying that based on your movie, it seems to show that I proved a curve, and yet no one that was there walked away from that night feeling that way. That is why it appears that Daniel is the only person who felt that this result was the way it portrayed in the movie. I, on the other hand, just like everyone else that was there, felt nothing was conclusive. The movie did not accurately portray the actual events. So because we are going back to do the test again with a few minor adjustments, I still need some sort of statement. You guys told me that you'd be able to give me the footage and now you cannot. Then your statement should say that, explaining that I am not hiding anything. If you gave me the footage that was taken, I'd show it all because that footage shows the truth. And I remember for sure that there were moments when the light could not be seen when held high and could be seen at the chest level. Also, you keep saying 17 feet and 23 feet. Dumb bitch. It doesn't say that in the email, but that's what I'm saying myself. But the light was held at chest level and then above the head. How can that be 6 feet of difference? Anyway, I believe that what I am asking you for is simple. Also, I will watch the movie again and see if that's true about my neighbor's house. I don't remember any pan, and it certainly appears to be my house. Anyone watching would say the same, so I will watch again. Again, all I'm asking for is a statement that I wrote earlier. If you don't agree with that statement, then write whatever you feel is true. But it certainly should say that originally I was told I could eventually have the other footage, true? And that now that has changed, true? And that the result that you included at the end of the movie was one of many observations at night, true? and that everyone who walked away that night felt nothing was proven. True? So if you cannot do that, then I will move forward and I will call it as it appears to be. The above statements are all facts. Either you guys were honest with me, that you deal honestly with people, that you help make money, people in your films, or you won't admit the truth, in which case I will tell my viewers that. Or you can deal truthfully and write a statement so that I can show people and stop saying I proved a curve and I'm hiding it. Do you understand my predicament because of your stupid film? And she comes back and says, Jaron, please consider my previous email my formal response that you may share with your viewers. So one thing you should notice, though, is that clearly they never denied saying that they would give me the extra footage. Okay, so we had an agreement beforehand that after they sold the documentary, I would be able to have the extra footage. Once they sold the documentary, since they lied in the documentary, they can no longer give me the extra footage. Why? Because I would show them clearly to be liars. So it makes all the sense in the world. The only reason you wouldn't give me the footage is if you know that the footage reveals the lie. I would be able to show that entire final night or that the entire observations that we made, and people would be like, what? There was like 20 observations and they were all over the place. And yeah, there was some that was seen high and some that was seen low, and they just picked one out. That's called cherry picking. It's what the Globers got mad at flat earthers for 10 years. But they're the ones who did it. So again, this only made me a flat earther longer. Okay? If they just would have been honest and dealt honestly with this, then it wouldn't have been that way. But when I see a documentary crew team have to lie about my experiment in order to make their movie good and in order to show that the Earth's curved, then that has problems. Okay? Now that I know the Earth's curved, give me that money. I'll go and do a documentary. It would be much better than these guys did. I wouldn't have to lie about anybody or misrepresent any experiments. I would be able to show you truthfully that the Earth is a fucking ball. Okay? These guys can't do that. They're liars. Now, let me show you here. Wait, do I have it over here? I want to show you something here. So this is going to be now a statement from the guy who was there, who was a globe Earth proponent. And he kind of just backs me up on what I said. Let me find it here. It is this one. Hello? Okay, so this is that site I'm sure you've seen 100 times. It's called flatearth.ws. Okay, and they do all these little articles about flat Earth and calling it, oops, oh, you're good. So it's talking about an analysis. It goes through let me just show you this. Let's just start here so you can see the problem. Okay, so this is the test, and everybody says this is me, by the way. I was on this side. This is Enrique. Just a bad drawing of him, but the light's coming through. If the Earth was flat, then you'd be able to see this light at the far end if you're looking through this camera, because all these things are going to be exactly the same height. We made sure of it from the ground, from the water level. Okay. If the Earth was curved, however, you would see this. Now, I did not draw this picture. They did. Why did I not draw it? Because certainly if you're holding the light here at your neck at 17 feet, then when you drop down and hold it above your head, it's not at 23 feet. How the fuck did you go from 17 to 23 by lifting a light from here to here? It's 2 feet maximum. So you're now talking about going from 17 to 19. Now, if you're really looking at things, if the globe result was 23 feet and the flat result was 17, what is 19 closer to? Okay? 19 is actually closer to the flat result, if anything. Now, I would never say that because there was so many observations that you cannot, I'd be cherry picking. If I said, oh no, then I'm cherry picking an observation. So this was just dumb on their part by lying about the distance, lying about the height. They took what I said when I said we would either see it at 23 feet or 17 feet as meaning that when I said, hey, Enrique, lift the light above your head, did I ever say now it's at 23 feet? No, they lied about it. Okay, we had a backboard behind Enrique that had a spot where it said 17 feet and a spot where it said 23 feet. And I said, put it above your head just to mean get it higher than the 17 feet. And then we saw it. But it was not near the 23 feet. In fact, we never saw it at the 23 feet. Okay, so this is them clearly misrepresenting an experiment, lying about it, lying about they just get to show this in their movie. It's a lie. Notice even here how they lied about this. If you've got a camera here, 17 feet, 17 feet, 17 feet, then look at here, 17 feet, 17 feet, and they dropped this line down to here, okay? And then lifted this up here and said, now this is 23 feet, which would mean that there's a 6 foot difference between this and this, which there's not. There's a 2 foot difference, okay? So let's go down here. We're going to actually see a guy who was there report back. Here's what he said. It says the following was originally posted by Jonah, Flat Earth Lunacy Source. Here. Okay, it says, I was the globe head there. In the video at Globebusters, Jaron shows an illustration with 4 panels. That may have been the original plan, but in the field there was only 3. One right in front of the laser. Now you'll notice that he talks about the laser. Okay, so he's even now talking about the wrong experiment again. People they've been, I don't know, befuddled. They don't remember that there was 2 experiments. One failed, and then we came back later and did the light experiment. So he says one at 1.5 miles downrange, a 6-inch hole, one at 17 feet, 3 miles downrange with the height lines drawn on it. I assume I couldn't see it. By the time I arrived at the sun had set and the panel in front of the laser was set up, Enrique got a volunteer, Stephen, and they left to go set up the downrange panels. I stayed at the laser location, as did Jaron and Daniel, the cameraman. Apologies if I have the name spelled wrong. The laser with beam expander and the telescope mount that carried it did not work. Jaron first adjusted the beam expander with the beam hitting the ground. So I just talked to you about this, about us trying to move it and it moving too much or too little. Aiming was touchy. It would fail to move. Then when it would move too much, when he got it aimed, Enrique reported by phone that the beam lit the entire panel, as I said. To further adjust the beam, Jaron needed to then hand manipulate it, which would throw off the aim. So there was a lot of back and forth of trying to get it lined up and the beam at the right spot. But every time we moved it or touched it, it went way off of the original lineup. Jaron switched to the backup plan. At the 1.5 mile panel, Stephen had a reasonably powerful flashlight at a 3 mile distance. Enrique held a monster flashlight. Jaron had a long zoom camera, 17 feet above the water, pointed downrange towards Stephen and Enrique. The 3 set up a conference call with Jaron repeating the following procedure about 10 times. Notice. So the 3 set up a conference call with Jaron directing and repeating the following procedure about 10 times. Stephen shined his light towards the camera through the hole in the 1.5 mile panel, 17 feet above the waterline. Enrique held his light at 17 feet above the water, he said, which was about waist high. Not true. That's a total lie. Every time you can actually watch us cut the holes in the panel. Nothing's at waist high. That's around your head or neck. And walked to his left so that the light would go around the middle panel. Jaron and I could see both lights in the camera's flip-out viewfinder, as well as Jaron could focus. The lights were sizable balls, not dots, and they appeared to be about the same height. Enrique, at 3 miles away, would walk back to his right until the light was occluded by the 1.5 mile panel, centered as well as Jaron could estimate. Then Stephen would turn off his light and remove it from the hole. The next test was whether or not we could see in the viewfinder Enrique's light through the hole in the 1.5 mile panel, which would support a flat Earth. If not, could we see if it had held over his head? This is a lie. Well, over 17 feet waterline, which would support a round Earth. So again, now what this guy's done, is he said, oh, well, Jaron told him to hold it at 17 feet. And he says, if not, could we see it held over his head? Well over 17 feet. Not well over 19 feet. The result is 23 feet. So we had marks in the back, 23 feet and 17. We would hold it at 23, would hold it at 17. But never did we ever say, oh, when you hold it above your head at 17 feet, that becomes 23 feet. No, you have to hold it at the 23-foot line. So I said, he says, in about 10 tries, with the light held waist high, that's not true, at chest high, at 17 feet. By the way, he wasn't at that end, so he wouldn't even know. We clearly saw it through this. In about 10 tries, with the light held waist high at 17 feet above water, we never clearly saw it through the center panel hole. On one of the attempts, maybe the 4th of 10, we clearly saw it when Enrique lifted it above his head. On that one, Jaron asked him to raise it and lower it a few times, and it would appear when Enrique raised it and vanish when he lowered it. That was the gas moment. That's when Jaron said, that's interesting. I noted it was the prediction for a round Earth when they repeated the whole procedure. Now again, what is part of science? Is repeating part of science? Okay, pretty sure it is. And it says here, they repeated the whole procedure. It did not happen again. I suggested having Enrique move from side to side a bit, and when occluded by the panel. In case it was a lateral alignment that was off, Jaron accepted that suggestion, but it made no observable difference in the light. So again, what he's saying here is that one little observation out of an hour, or out of like a 3 hour of observations, was the one that they showed you in the movie as if it was something definitive. The only reason they took that one piece is because it matched their pre-assumed conclusion, doing the opposite of what science does, or what science should do. Okay? This is a mockery. This is disgusting. And the fact that everybody thinks it's something is embarrassing to the globe community, because they act like they're scientific and they're skeptical when they are not. They are the worst. They are the same. They're looking for their own truth. Now, again, knowing now that the Earth is a globe, I understand why people do what they do, or I understand why you're so sure of yourself. You're just going to say, "Oh, you see, it was proven here," but you're making things worse. You're becoming exactly what you're so against. Like, you don't just get to choose one observation out of 20 and be like, "Oh, that one matches what we think the Earth is, so therefore we're going to put it at the end of our movie and call it definitive," because everybody watching then assumes that it was a definitive result when it wasn't. It's a lie. Okay. Let's continue on with this. So we got that done. You now get that guy's perspective on it. So what you should understand is that we clearly had many observations at night. And I want to go back to the movie because I want to show you what nonsense she's talking about here at the end. So we're going to go to the end of this movie. Oops,
Dogma
looking
is
at
the
it.
less it meshes with reality, the larger the alternative reality you're going to have to create. All of existence suddenly.
That's a good point that he said. Let me go back to the let's see what he's saying there.
Today we announced the formation of
and present it to the world. We will experience
all of existence suddenly is through a different lens.
Right, and this is true. This is one of the reasons this documentary was good, is because this guy, I forgot his name, Tim, I think Tim, makes a great point here. And now being out of the flat earth community, I can look back and see that all these things that they're saying are dead on true.
I want to believe this. This doesn't mesh with reality, so don't change my view, change reality.
Right. So that's what everybody in the flat earth is doing, is that, for instance, when Jaron comes back and says that the 24-hour sun was seen in the south, they have two choices. One, to admit that they are wrong and that they need to change their beliefs. Or two, they just can change the reality. Oh, well, Jaron lied. He works for the Freemasons. He's a sellout. So it's always going to be that flat earthers are going to, you listened to Sam the other day. Sam has no idea what's going on. He will just continue to change reality rather than admit that he was wrong. Okay, you saw with the stupid sunlight going behind Toon's head. He just can't admit, people don't have the ability anymore to say, "Oh, I was wrong. Oops, my bad." People that can't do that.
You know, I do wonder what the motivation is for it. It doesn't seem to make a whole lot of sense.
It's their escape. I'm in a room with people that absolutely will not judge me.
So many of you have been through so much pain.
my entire life, I've kind of felt separate, like nothing was quite right.
And I think that's the truth for all flat earthers.
We never really fit in. We find ourselves to be somewhat isolated. And we want to talk to people about this thing, but nobody wants to talk to us.
In the Truman Show, a big reason why the lead character left when he discovered his entire world was fake edge. The guy's got limos, the guy's got mistresses, he's got money, he's got a pretty cushy life. Does he open the door and
now listen to what
face
Mark
the
says here at the
devil
end.
you don't know versus the devil you know? No.
Wouldn't you say, in a sense, though, like you're now the mayor of Flat Earth?
Look how happy he is.
Say you lose faith in this thing. What then happens to my personal relationships?
Right, they
What's
get
the
destroyed.
benefit of me of doing that? Will the mainstream people welcome me back?
No.
No, they couldn't care less. But have I now lost all my friends?
Yes.
In this community? Yes. So suddenly you're doubly isolated.
If I tried to go, there would be so many people. They would come and say, don't do it. And so I couldn't even if I wanted to.
So Mark just said that even if he found out that the earth was curved, that he wouldn't be able to leave because nobody would let him. He couldn't leave even if he wanted to. Okay? It's very important there. Now let's get to the end of the movie.
You are the star of the show. Sense of guilt if all of a sudden it was proved to be a globe.
So now there's the little, he basically says, would I feel a sense of guilt if all of a sudden it was proven to be a globe? And then they flip to my experiment, which is a misrepresentation, as we just explained. It's a chosen, cherry-picked piece. And I'm not looking at the chat. I usually don't look at the chat when I'm saying something that I know the chat's not going to agree with, because I know science people, they don't agree. They'll be like, no, it's because it's the Earth's curve, so we can cherry-pick. We'll cherry-pick whatever we want. The globe has no problem doing that. They'll cherry-pick any result as long as it shows the globe, because they know it's a globe. So again, does lying for the truth make lying any better than lying for the sake of lying? I don't really know. I don't think so. I don't think you want to lie regardless. Not just because you're getting the truth across, like, oh, it's okay to lie now. Your light way above your head. Oops. Interesting. And of course, there was no music in the thing, and there was people all around. So why didn't there? Where's the scene of us realizing the Earth's curved? Where's the discussion? Why don't you show the next thing that happened? It's a completely misrepresented experiment. Because then, as we said, we asked him to repeat it, and then it wasn't repeated. We couldn't see it again. So you're talking about an anomaly, a 1 out of 20 observation that has now been put at the end of a movie as if it proves something, and that is dishonest because the Clarks are pieces of shit. Now, here's what the Delta V's explanation for this is. They said, we did let you give your explanation at the end of the movie. This is what they're talking about. Watch this. The person that was a globe believer was saying, isn't that proof the Earth curves? Well, then the guy that was at the middle said, no, it's hitting weeds. Okay, so they played that little clip of me saying it's hitting weeds to like make me look bad as if I thought that our result had something to do with weeds. Notice what's happening here. This is the blue laser. Notice this big cloud, this big blue blotch here? That's the laser hitting the backboard. Did we use a laser on the night that we're doing my problem with the documentary is that you misrepresented my experiment, and now you've doubly misrepresented the experiment. Now you've shown the first experiment and my explanation for it, which you didn't even put in the movie. So you've now confused everybody. And they're so fucking stupid. Even Caroline Clark was talking about the laser experiment, not the right one. So they're putting my explanation. Now look at this part.
You know, it's a trial and error basis, and you're right. I absolutely love the video that you came out with, talking about the Monday morning armchair quarterbacks.
Don't know why they put that in there. Then we tried to do it again, like to replicate that result, and we didn't get the same result. There was just nothing that we could walk away from and say for sure was decided. Right. So they put that in there. That's like them saying, oh, no, we can lie about you because we have your explanation at the end.
And we didn't get the same result.
Again, look at this. This is them talking about the laser test. We're talking about the laser test. Notice the laser goes through and it hits either one of the backboards at 17 feet or 23 feet. That's a different test. What we did eventually is we just had the camera here, removed panel 1. We had panel 2 in the middle, and then we had the backboard way over there. And that's where Enrique was lowering and raising the light. But again, for him to go from 17 feet to 23 feet required a ladder, not just putting it above your head. Okay, so that's another explanation of them just being dirtbags. Okay, so we know that they are deceptive. They were deceptive in the whole thing. They lied to me, misrepresented me. And so when I hear that interesting word, it is funny to me because... again, the reason it was interesting is because it was a result in the middle. Now, I will admit, and I'll say this wholeheartedly, that somebody like MC Toon, okay, did a piece on my experiment. When he heard that it was actually at 19 feet because somebody just put it above his head, well, he kind of did the math again and said, oh, it's supposed to be 19 feet, not 17 or 23. 19 would be the curved Earth because of refraction or whatever. But then I went to Toon. I said, Toon, you've now taken that one removed observation and done a whole math on it so that it comes out to what you want it to see. That is manipulating results. It's a one-off observation out of 20 that you've now taken and said, okay, oh, and what did he get? Oh, that number doesn't seem right. Let me rework that until I get what. So this is a problem because it's everybody trying to use a misrepresented experiment, a one-off observation to prove something, which it never should do. Never should do. You should be trying to find something that's repeatable over and over again that you can have other people try or other people do. So I'm going to see, does he still have it on his channel? One second. I want to check if MC Toon has control find. Let me see if it's in here. I don't think so. I think he took it down. So he took down the video that he'd done about me, I believe. And so did Craig. The only person that hasn't yet is Simon Dan. I mean, others too, but I'm saying that those two guys, when I talked to them on the side and said, hey, Toon, let me explain to you what happened here. When I explained it to him, Toon took down his video because he didn't know that. He said, oh, okay, let me just put this in real quick. I don't know if he has something on his channel or not about it. MC Toon Live, search. Let's see if he has anything on me in here. Jaren versus Witsit, Jaren and Toon. calling in Jeranism premiere, a discussion with Jeranism. I want to see if the beginning of this has it in there or not. Let me see. We'll try this one real quick. This is an MC Tune video. Let's see. Stop it. Here we go. I'll show it to you in 1 second. I know you're not looking at it. I'm just trying to figure out where it's said. Just quiet.
And I know better than to say this back, but yes, she's not here.
It was scheduled for like 2 hours, which we don't have now. But it's certainly by the end of the next one we do.
Accept, and whatever that doesn't, then reject. It's standard science denialism. Ready?
Oh, there you go. I hear you now. Because it might not. MC Tune, sorry. I'll make that mistake over up there. But I wanted this even since back when, you know,
Your show before, so I think a good number of them are
sure, I remember that.
familiar.
Heads.
And
oh, this is just a debate
Anything
between them.
that floats your boat. Anything that pre-confirms or, gives you what you've been looking for. So I don't think that really globe earthers are truly looking for the truth. They think they already have it. They've already said before that, people that are intelligent don't go looking for answers to questions or to questions or to answers that they already think they know, right? So it's not as if MC Tune watches one of my videos or somebody else's and is actually trying to learn what he's.
And when I got into this, I said, well, I don't.
Video, but you might recall you were covering Caleb and. Well, no, but it is just an average. I mean, you are just grabbing that. Okay, you can, but to make the claim that people are being deceptive, as if they're sitting around, what should we call the speed? Let's call it 66,600.
There's a long list of things that I could put together and build a meme of here are the people that think the earth is flat, and here is the different things that are in there. But I actually did create a meme.
I thought that
where
there was one conversation where we had where the beginning of it started out with the discussion about behind the curve, where Toon, I just wanted to hear you see Toon admit that he looked into the situation and found out that they misrepresented my experiment by talking to numerous people. And of course, he read the emails from both Danielle and Caroline, which confirm what I've said. I've been right the whole time. I'm just trying to see here if does it talk about here at all? Let me see. Try down.
Description of that observation.
Now, for reference, those people that say, you used a flat baseline, they definitely could go do the geometry.
Sorry, I'm just trying to see. I don't remember where it's at on here. I could use the transcript, I guess, see if it's in there. Let me see. Just because I do think that would be good to show. What is this? Oh. Okay, show transcript. Let me just see if it's in there. I'm going to go control find. It would be behind the curve. We'll just put curve. It should tell us if we've got it. Curve. Line curved. Nope. Let me see how many times we got in here. That's a lot. Compressor does not. Oh, well, that's another one. I mean, I've always had a problem with that. And that one's another one with Globe. I cannot believe it's still used on the Globe community. I would never use that. That's the one where they take a condensed image, which I've shown many times has been debunked, and yet they keep doing it. If you had a curve variety, start with that. I think curve either way. Let me look up canal, maybe. I don't know if they. Oh, here we go. Okay, let's try it from here and see what it talks about. It's from 251. It says the word canal. Can you press play? What do I do with the video? Here we go. 251. What is going on? 251 play.
What was it? A canal, yeah. So you're using the canal as your level measurement, which is fine, right? Level on a globe is a curved surface, and level on flat Earth is a flat surface, right? And that's the whole question. When everybody's like, "Why is it level?" Like, yeah, but the question is, what is level? Just saying it finds its level doesn't actually change anything. We need to know what level actually is.
I don't know how to explain this either. When I hear him now talking, I understand it. So weird, but I can think back to this time, and I don't even know if I was listening to him because I don't think I even cared. Like, I really wasn't trying to challenge my belief.
Right. It's been measured. It's a curve, but
been measured. They measured the oceans. Everybody, just
well, they have, but
they have not measured the oceans. Knock it off.
How would you measure the ocean?
How would you? There's buoys that are measuring the height changes of the ocean.
Yeah, but they're not measuring the curvature of the ocean. Come on, Tune.
Because it uses GPS. GPS uses
okay.
WGS
Now I agree with that.
84,
Okay, we agree with that. We agree with that. Go ahead.
Anyway, that means you said nobody measured it. Somebody has measured it. You don't like the way the methodology, but people have. So
I've never even seen them claim to measure the oceans.
Yeah, I don't think they measured that.
Not the curvature of the Earth.
I just gave it to you. If you're interested, I can help you.
You said GPS. I still disagree
anyway,
with them.
Assigning GPS to things and then saying you're measuring from GPS is not really measuring. But anyway.
Of course it is, man.
Now I get it.
So
it's
if
the difference between now I get it, but at the time, I still stand behind my answer there that we didn't know. You can't just say, "Oh, the Earth is curved because GPS says so." Right? You'd have to go into more detail about what GPS is and how the Earth is mapped on a globe with, I guess all that encompassing. At the time, I'm just hearing, "Oh, GPS proves the Earth's curved." Like, no, it doesn't. How did it measure the Earth curve?
Does GPS work?
What do you mean? Does it get you places?
Does it get your accurate location and your accurate elevation?
Now I get it.
It gives you your location on the globe.
Right.
Okay, perfect. Yep. All right.
Okay.
So that's a fine way to do it. So did the producers do you wrong?
Well, that's clear.
I think you're not gonna. Yeah. But you bring it up all the time, Jaron, and I know.
No, I actually don't bring it up all the time. This is the problem: is that I stop bringing it up. I want to get away from it, right? But then everybody says you're trying to get away from it, so then I have to go back to it. My thing is that it should be a no-brainer to a globe earther who always cares about all this evidence. They want to know what's the refraction index. They want to know what's the temperature gradient. They want to know all these things until I say the word interesting, at which point that becomes enough evidence for them. That it just really exposes globe earth for what it is.
Still think that
it's you write on your website about
Jaron, I think and I get it because I mean you're the subject of this and it hits your emotions right in the middle, right?
It has nothing to do with me being the subject either. I believe in being honest. I believe in being upfront. I believe that when you deceive people, you are doing more damage than just the initial deception, that there's actual residual effects. And this is why you have a whole truth community, so-called, which is now just trash. Because they've all been exposed by adopting the flat earth. Okay, if they would have been smart enough to realize the earth isn't flat and stayed in their lane and said, no, I'm still a truther, I still believe in 9/11 truth or whatever else you want, but no, the earth is not flat. But all the truthers, they fell right into the flat earth trap. And they all now have to spit it, and they all, since they said it once, can't go back and say they were wrong. So now you've got a truth community that has exposed itself at being terrible at research, horrendous at understanding. Okay? People still who say like, oh, a canal drops 700 feet, but it doesn't, it only drops 1 foot in reality, not 700. They don't understand how the curved earth works. They don't understand there's a drop from tangent. They don't understand any of that.
I get that.
Well, I guess it hits me because it's, one of those things where I'm actually out there trying to do something and we didn't get a result, which is part of doing experiments. Part of doing tests is to not get everything right. I know Globers would.
I like this guy, Jaron. You guys know him? He's a good guy. Good looking too.
Never show themselves actually getting something wrong. You would never show that you messed up on an experiment because you guys actually would just keep doing the experiment until it showed what you want, and then you go and bring that to YouTube. That's how you guys operate. So
that's true.
I don't expect you to ever.
So find me any globe believer showing any observation that leans towards flat, not globe. You'll never find it because the globe says it doesn't happen when we all are smarter than that. We're all smarter than that.
Oh, hold on.
Trust
I can't
me.
let you just say that.
Well,
okay. That's not how science is done.
No, but that's how Globers on YouTube do their things. If you think that every single time a person has gone out to see a boat go over the edge or to observe something, that every time it's pulled back a globe-only result, then you're confused.
No, but it's how YouTube science is done. YouTube Glober science is done.
It's the truth.
It is.
Tough crowd, Jared. Tough crowd.
Well, I mean,
It is the truth. Now, I'm not saying flat earthers aren't the same, but I guess I'm more speaking about myself, right? When I went out and filmed the ISS crossing the sun or moon, that is a pretty big blow to the flat earth. Yet I filmed it and posted it on my channel both times. Who's the only other flat earther to ever post a sun or moon transit by the ISS? There isn't one. There isn't one. Okay, so they are just as, that tells you that either they have not gone out and done it, or when they did and saw the ISS, they refused to put it on their channels because people are not out here telling you the truth, guys. I'm telling you right now, people on YouTube are lying to you. All of them. It just depends on what side you want to be lied to by.
There was a guy, I don't remember his name, a flat earther who was super mad at you and Bob after the movie came out. And he went on and on about, you need to first do the experiment before you let anybody watch you to make sure it gives them.
They all say that now. They all say that. And you know what? I get it. And it's kind of what science should be, right? If you want to find an experiment that you can use to explain or prove something, you probably do want to find the experiment that keeps returning the right results. It's repeatable. And then you can hand it out to other people, because that's what truly science should be. If somebody does an experiment or test in a lab, then that should be replicated everywhere identically. There shouldn't be a lab somewhere that does the same experiment and gets a different result. That's a problem. Okay.
Right results. It's a flat earther saying that he took his video down, and I didn't download it
because it looks so bad. Him saying that?
Of him saying it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's not the way to do it.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing that they all say now too. They all say that about us down there in Antarctica. Like, I should have gone down there and checked it out first before I was able to say. I mean, it's like, what are you talking about?
But my cousin, have you seen, my ugly identical cousin McFlatty?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about.
No?
Now I do, but
You haven't seen, he's a flat earther. He loves you.
I don't know.
Jaron. Yeah, McFlatty. Go. He's his channel, McFlatty. Okay. Anyway,
I didn't know that's actually Toon in a costume or something.
His most viewed video is basically saying the same thing as that guy did. So,
okay, because I mean, you right here, the anti-scientific method is to select the required conclusion.
Yes.
Only accept supporting evidence.
Right. So imagine what he's saying now. He's describing what the guys in the movie did. They already had their conclusion. Earth's curved. So then they go through their movie footage and they select the footage that proves what they want to show.
Reject contradicting evidence and declare pre-selected conclusion undeniably proven.
Now again, when it's the globe Earth and you're a globe earther and you know that the Earth's a globe, I get it. But you still are being exactly what you give everybody else a problem for. But you're doing it. But because you're right, you think it's okay. You think it's okay to lie, to misrepresent people. It's okay to be deceptive. You guys think all that. You've been deceptive many times. You've lied about your office of the Secretary of General or whatever. You guys lied and put a document that looked like the flat Earth was being talked about in government levels. You guys did that. You all do that. You deceive people on purpose because you think it's okay, and you actually think of flat earthers as lesser human beings than you. Okay, that's what you think, and you're like, it's okay to fool these guys. They're just idiots. I'm just telling you that all this combined is why there are flat earthers. Do you understand? It has to do with when people see that Toon fakes a document like that, then you're not telling anybody who's in the flat earth like, oh, what? He faked a document? Then the earth is curved. I'm going to go be a glober. No, they then say, this guy's deceptive. He's a piece of shit, and I will forever be a flat earther. How do I know that? Because that was my opinion.
Yes.
Okay. So just, I mean, that's, you've got Edwin Hubble saw that everything looks like it's moving away from us, which puts us in a favored position. And he said, we have to avoid that at all costs. Right. And we can't disprove the observation that the Earth is at the center. So he rejects all that evidence and says, but we will come up with something. So he came up with something that.
But Jaron, this was after aberration, parallax, and annual.
But okay, sorry, we'll get out of that. So wanted to show you that. Let me check what else I've got here. By the way, if you guys don't know, the interesting show, we do a after party, I guess you want to call it, or an after panel. That's going to be until this channel gets monetization. It'll be on my other channel, the Jeranism channel. That'll be starting here shortly, usually by about 5. We've got a couple minutes to that. Let me just make sure that I've covered all my bases with the interesting thing. So the moral of the story is you can't misrepresent experiments. You can't pick and choose. You can't cherry pick. And basically all the people who's responsible for this are all those people on YouTube land that think that one thing is proof or one showing. No. So something like the 24-hour sun in Antarctica now is something that is repeatable. It is knowable. It is 100% a fact. And I know that if anybody ever goes down there, they'll see exactly the same thing I saw. Nobody can manipulate the sun and move it around the earth. It's not the way it works. So there's a difference there. That is something that I can harp on because it is a repeatable experiment. It's not a one-off. It's not like we went down there, and sometimes when you go down there, you do see the 24-hour sun, and sometimes you don't. And sometimes you see. Imagine if we did that. Imagine this real quick. We go down to Union Glacier. We show up the first day, the sun sets. Oh shit, it's the set. The second day it sets. The third day it kind of didn't. We weren't really sure. The fourth day it looked like it went around. Oh, we just filmed the fourth day and we presented that to everybody and said that's the truth. Okay, is that misrepresent? Is that being deceptive? Hell yes, it absolutely is. So that's what Behind the Curve did. Behind the Curve saw results that didn't match what they wanted, saw some that did, and then they took the one that they said did the most, and they said, we'll just put this one on the end of our movie and let people think it was some definitive result, when it wasn't. The movie is a lie, and Daniel and his half-brother are both dirtballs. Did I already say that? Did I mention that the guys are dirtballs? Daniel Clark, Caroline Clark, not related, both dirtballs, especially the one from Harvard. Okay, so we got this part here. What is this one? Captivating documentaries? No, we saw that. Caroline Clark's LinkedIn. Why did I want to show this? Oh, just because if anybody questioned whether or not she's the same Caroline Clark, she is. Says, and she's most known for Behind the Curve. Says Caroline Clark produced the critically acclaimed documentary feature Behind the Curve, served as an executive producer on its unscripted TV adaptation In My Own World for Vice Studios. For her next documentary venture, she is tagging along with the world's leading astronomers as part of her upcoming feature Planet 9, which received a production grant from the Sundance Institute last year. So I do know that she'll suck up and do anything she can to anybody, that people pay her off to do her dirty work, like what happened with Wolfgang Halbig and patrolling Sandy Hook. She has no problem with lying. She has no problem with being deceptive to anybody. If she ever comes to you to film your documentary, I'd say no and then spit on her shoes. So please do that if you want. I'm just seeing if this is still coming out. That was like 3 years ago I heard about Planet 9. Planet 9, Delta V, no, Caroline Clark. Let's see, Caroline Clark. I just want to see if this movie's coming out anytime soon. Behind the Curve, Caroline Clark TV Productions. Planet 9, upcoming film. Nope, it's still nope, doesn't look like it. I don't think it came out because that LinkedIn is 6 years ago. I watched the doc just last week. I really enjoyed it. Wait, what? Oh, that's for a Twitter space, or not a Twitter space, a Reddit, AMA, whatever they're called. Okay, I don't see it on here. I was just trying to see if she was still doing the Planet 9, but I don't see anything about it. As I'm sure it'll be misrepresented in some way. Anyway, I just don't think that person should be doing questionable documentaries if you're not going to be honest with people, as she wasn't with me. She didn't give me the right resources. Let me check the email one more time and see if there's anything else I need to read from that. What did this guy do? Oh. Thank you for allowing. Okay, good. I'm going to just check some emails I've got. I've got tons of text messages back and forth, basically about the footage, the extra footage. Let me see here. This is a letter I wrote to a lawyer. Do I want to read that? It's pretty long. Let me see here. I said, Matthew, I won't tell you who that lawyer is. I said, Matthew, I was wondering if you can do me a favor, give me a price or a percentage deal of some sort of demand letter I would like to write to Delta V Productions. Several reasons why, but they have in actuality caused me both emotional pain and suffering as well as a hit to credibility. I have proof of them lying several times that can be named, and they can be named. They did the following in short. 1, they told me I would receive additional footage. Then they say they have to go back on their word and not give it to me. This is because the extra footage proves that the movie is released ends in a fabrication and misrepresentation. 2, they lied to me and had me sign a release under false pretenses. I have footage of them saying that in North Carolina at the conference they decided that they were no longer going to do a friendly documentary, but now wanted to attack Flat Earth because they saw kids at the conference. Their words. However, I have the release signed, which is dated after North Carolina, and Daniel was following me around begging me to sign the release, saying that they were going to show us in a positive light, only having the best intentions. So after putting up a fight, I signed the release. Now I realize the goal going in was to make a hit piece, which means I signed the release under false pretenses. This is all backed by evidence in my possession. 3, in North Carolina, I asked Caroline for examples of her work before I signed the release to see if she's someone I want to work with. She emails me a link to 4 documentaries. They are harmless. Some on Dr. Pol, some on esports. So I look them over and agree to sign the release. Come to find out, she did a documentary called Patrolling Sandy Hook, in which she is accused of being paid to do a project by a grant from a school. There are reports online saying that she cheated to get that funding, and a teacher made sure she won the documentary contest award. Also, one of the people in the documentary accused her of deceptive practices and fraud and had him sign under false pretenses. Now, if I ask you for some examples of your work and you fail to show me the one that proves that you have ill intent of conspiracy theories, this is plainly deceptive, since she knew the reason I held out from signing was because I was worried about how she might take me. The waiver was then signed under false pretenses. By the way, I was the very last one to sign because I didn't trust these two. Until they lied to my face, and I have all the evidence to prove that, these two people lied to me. They misrepresented me. They have cost me unknown potential income. Number 4, Caroline admits in email that the results were seen at both 17 and 23 feet, and neither 17 and 23 feet. Then she says there was only one time that was seen at 23 feet, and this is what they placed in the movie. This is a blatant lie, because please see below the image. Nothing was seen at 23 feet. It was seen held above the head at somebody at 17 feet, which would be 19 to 19 and a half feet. 23 is a made-up lie to sell the documentary. Caroline claims, number 5, Caroline claims she put my response at the end of the movie. No, Caroline Clark lifted me saying something on a different show regarding a completely different experiment. It had nothing to do with the lasers or the scene in question, and in no way is my response to her misrepresenting an experiment that is easily provable. 6, Caroline and Daniel Clark deceptively edited the movie to end it with a scene where I supposedly proved the curvature of the Earth. This is a blatant lie. They took an out-of-sequence scene and they ended the movie with it. The way the movie plays out, they say that the two possible results are 17 and 23 feet. That was from a laser test. They then show a scene of me asking my partner what height his light is at. He says 17 feet, and I say I can see it, hold it above your head. I can't see it, hold it above your head. I then see the light and say interesting, end of movie. Number 7, let the circus begin. The entire audience buys the lie without recognizing the many errors. I said interesting because we had already measured 23 feet and didn't see the light, not shown in the film. Then we measure 17 feet and don't see it again. I ask him to raise it and it's seen. Note, hold something at your chest 17 feet and raise it above your head. Now you're at 19 and a half feet tops. Hence my interesting quote. Interesting because it was in the middle of the two expected results. The movie claims that this 23 feet, which is simply a lie for them to sell the movie and have a great ending. See below, even in their own drawing from the film, they show a man with a light at his chest, 17 feet, then he lifts it above his head, and the movie says it's 23 feet, which is simply a lie. I'm sorry, whoops, I think I read the same line. And then he lifts, and the white line, for some reason, extends down. I have placed those two scenes side by side so that you can see the obvious fraud. The light was at 17 feet at the chest. Then they show the light above the head, and it's marked 23 feet. This is a lie, and it has cost me dearly. It cost me work, has cost me audience, has cost me credibility. I can show you 30 articles online that all use my name, discrediting me and saying that I proved the shape of the earth and have continued to be a flat earther despite it. Delta V is immoral and proven liars. They had me sign a waiver under false pretenses. They lied about me and cost me subscribers to an untold cost. They have cost me in time having to explain this and try to show people the lie. I had some status before, but became a laughingstock because of it. This is not accidental. Seeing the photo above, the producers realized that the light was not seen at 23 feet, but declare it anyway. They deceived me by lying about it They deceived me lying about being in good faith when in actuality it stated in the release. It says in good faith, but yet I have them being interviewed admitting that well before that date that they had already decided they didn't want to show us in a good light and they'd be changing the movie to a hit piece. They also lied outright by saying I would get the other footage, but once they lied about me, the other footage is proof of that lie. They would show us not seeing the light at 23 feet or 17, but at 19.5. Would also show that at the end of the test, it was determined by all 20 people there that nothing was proven. We all walked away believing nothing was shown. Matthew, I've heard that they made $600,000 from Netflix for this documentary. That was a fabrication on my expense. I'm the only one who got taken to the cleaners here, and I don't feel right letting it get away with it. If it goes to court, I think a jury would side with me. I have all the evidence, and they have none. The only evidence they would have against me is if they showed the additional footage proving me wrong. However, they can't do that because it doesn't exist. The only other thing that the footage would show is that they are liars. So if they go to court, they have nothing. All evidence they show will be a lie, and it cost me dearly. So either you can charge me to write a demand letter. I think these should ask for, $25,000, $50,000 if they made $600,000 and grew their brand and their own names at my expense. If they don't answer the demand, I feel that they will lose in court and that I should at least get half of the money because of my expense by some documentary filmmakers who used lies and deception to make a hit piece film. Their names should be exposed, and they should not do other documentaries without people knowing that they use fraud and to make their films. Or if you'd rather do a percentage deal, whatever, we can do that. So either way, give me a price or a percentage, and I will be gathering the evidence together for a demand letter. I know before you said I didn't have a case, but I think you're wrong. I think that they have no way of showing that they are correct because I have the evidence showing that they promised the footage. The evidence showing that they had me sign under false pretenses. I have the evidence that they lied at the end. They can't go to court as they have no defense. Their defense has to be, no, we showed an actual test result. But as I can show, they simply lied about the results and all other things above. I understand if they pay me some amount of money, I'm not going to be able to speak about it going forward. I hope that you see my point. Please reply to this email. Call me at this number. It should not be okay for a documentary filmmaker to lie about people they film for their own profit. It is not fair to me to have them make money and gain accolades while I take the abuse and lose potential income because they chose to be frauds while I conducted honestly an experiment that had no results. Thanks for your time. So he again called back, and I even think that he's working with them. Maybe another lawyer would have taken the case, but he kept saying to me, Jaron, they never said that you proved the curve. And I said, yeah, but they implied it. He goes, well, that's what good movie makers do. He said they made it so that the person at home thinks that you proved the curve, but they never said it. So I'm like, you can imply things like that? And he basically said, yes. I don't know if that's the truth. It's just the only lawyer I contacted. And he said, if they said in some interview that, oh, our movie did prove the curvature of the earth, then you'd have a case because they didn't do that. But they never said that you did that. So what are you arguing against? I'm like, what do you mean? He says, well, was the observation where you say interesting, is that real? I'm like, yes, that really happened. He goes, okay, then they didn't misrepresent you. I'm like, no, but they misrepresented me by making it seem like it was some big result when it was just 1 of 20. And he goes, but they never said that it was a extreme result. They never said, here's where Jaron proves. So I was just pissed and was like, whatever. I'm not going to continue to worry about this because it's just dirtbag that people get away with stuff like this. When look at all the things, they can't show me lying once. They can't show me lying at all. If you listen to the intro of this song, this show, I even say, the worst thing you can say about me is interesting. That's the worst thing you have against me. These guys are deceptive pieces of shit and garbage humans. You see the difference? You can't say that about me. I didn't lie to them. I didn't lie to my audience. I didn't lie to people. I didn't deceptively use editing. I didn't edit things out of place. I didn't misrepresent experiments. I didn't lie to people and get them to sign under false pretenses. I didn't do any of that. That's what they did. And it happens over and over again in my life. And it's like, I guess I just got to get used to it. People are pieces of shit, most of them. And they don't care when they do things like this for their own gain. And I guess I never really realized that that's what the world is. The world is who's screwing who for which amount of money. Everything you see online today is a lie. It's all a scam. They're all fooling you. Everybody's lying to you on YouTube. Everybody's lying to you on Twitter and on Facebook. They all lie to you. And you've got to learn to not let you be part of those lies. And so I've learned now not to do that, not to sign documents that say, oh, we can use you however we want, because then they'll lie about you. And then what can you do about it, right? You can't do anything. So that was, and he wrote back and said, again, I don't think you have a case. Okay. So maybe I don't. But I still think when you have all this evidence of these people lying, and the one thing they told me, we'll give you the extra footage. Well, now they can't give me the extra footage because the extra footage is the proof that they lied. So I was like, they're not going to be able to give me that extra footage. And sure enough, they have to pretend. And then I even asked him, can you ask them to get the document that says that Netflix says they can't give it out? He's like, oh, I'm sure there isn't one. I'm like, well, then why isn't that a court case? They're lying about that. He's like, well, because if it ever went to discovery, anything that they had that would prove your point, they'll just throw away. So he said, you'll never do anything in court. It's not like they're going to show up at court with the evidence that you're saying that they have that proves them a liar. They would just throw it away and say, we don't have that anymore. We got rid of that footage. So you're not going to have, they're not going to expose themselves to help you win a lawsuit. So he's like, this is why you have to have things signed in paper, and this is why you want to store them, because this way you have a document that you can go to court regardless of what, they can't show up at court without a document. It doesn't matter. You have the document, right? So he's like, in your case, you can't show up at court with the real footage because you didn't film it. So I got it. I got that what he was saying. I didn't pursue it further, but I think that all those things combined should tell you who's really the liars here. Let me see if I had anything else here. Oh, this is the original email to him, I think. Oh, I put a bunch of links in here. This is a great email. So it's just me. I linked a bunch of stories online, and they each say something negative about me because of it, the movie, It says, of course, their theory is still ridiculous, leading to many hilarious moments of flat earthers repeatedly disproving themselves, like Jaron did in Behind the Curve. What about science? Real science. Clark has done his due diligence in interviewing flat earth scientists whose focus is to challenge current beliefs in the current Earth's so-called roundness. In fact, the ending of the documentary follows a sort of scientific task force named FEIC and their experiment to debunk the curvature of the Earth. No spoilers here, but of course, the Earth is curved. So it just keeps going on. Saving the best footage for last, the results of this experiment played out in the final scenes of the documentary. They ultimately had to ditch their laser, but applied the same principle to a bright light. Once again, the results prove that the Earth is curved. The science speaks for itself. So again, this is the dirtball shit about science. This is why I'll spit on that. It didn't prove anything. Just because the Earth is curved doesn't mean when you misrepresent an experiment that it proved the Earth is curved. No, it proved that you misrepresented the experiment. The Earth is curved. The Earth is a ball. However, you misrepresented my experiment. Those two things don't go together. You don't get to say the science speaks for itself unless you're a dirtball dick sucker of science, which is what this guy is. These experiments were actually sound. I mean, who the fuck writes that in an article? They weren't sound. They were misrepresented. Okay? It is the flat earthers' refusal to accept the results of their own trials that's the problem. Wrong again. Wrong again. It's because of the lies that you told. Not has anything to do. If the results were definitive, we would all have said definitively that the results were there. They weren't. Period. This next article from Funny or Die says, because the Earth is a globe, amazingly, he only has one thing to say after his own experiment literally proves the Earth is curved. That's interesting. From newscientist.com, flat earthers accidentally prove themselves wrong again. From Sci-Fi, so far the media has been focusing on how two experiments conducted in the film by YouTube personalities Jaren and Bob only produced evidence that the planet is in fact round. But these people, true believers, they're still going to let a silly thing like evidence discredit their and deter their delusions. Yeah, it's it's the Glober delusion that any result that says curve must be a sound experiment. Fucking tards. From I Fucking Love Science. That's interesting. Jaren commented during the particular scene, and you know what? It is interesting. This experimental setup has been a staple by flat earthers since 1836, when Samuel Rowbotham first did his old Bedford level. Time and time again, it has revealed the curvature of the Earth. Still, it is important to continue to repeat classic experiments, as repetition is one of the cornerstones of science, and this again proves that the Earth is curved. This is from Newsweek, titled Behind the Curve Ending, Flat Earther Disproves Themselves with His Own Experiment in Netflix Documentary. The most surprising may be the rigor with which flat Earth believers in a flat Earth disprove themselves. Twice in Behind the Curve, experiments show the opposite of what flat Earth advocates hope to demonstrate, with one such experiment involving a flashlight serving as a documentary's ending. But it's Nodell's YouTube co-host, Jaren Campanella, who provides the most dramatic example of a flat earther experiment disproving movement dogma. I get sick reading all these lies, to be honest. Just search my name or follow this Google search, and you can see the damage that this has done by this film director and the way they misrepresented me. And here's the truth. Maybe the Earth is a sphere. Hey, how about that? I said that in when was this? 2018. And here's the truth. Maybe the Earth is a sphere. Maybe it isn't flat. And if that's the case, then they can make a movie or experiment and show that and prove it. Why would you need to lie about my experiment as your proof? What do you think that makes me think? Attached are 2 screenshots. If you need complete email threads, let me know. Perhaps you'll read this and agree there's nothing here. I attached a bunch of things, images. What is that one? This is a image of a text message. I don't know what this is. Caroline Clark. I said, Caroline, please, can I get a copy of the release signed? Oh, wait, that's something else. This is, lastly, regarding the footage that was promised but never delivered, can I see proof that Netflix said you cannot give it to me, as you guys agreed, or can you at least write a statement making it clear why you can't give me what you agreed upon? And then she writes back and says, let me see what I can do. But I was showing him, if somebody says to you, hey, regarding the footage that was promised that never was delivered, can I see proof that Netflix told you they cannot give that to me? Or can you write a statement making it clear why you can't give it to me and what you agreed upon? And her response is, let me see what I can do. Well, what the fuck? That's an admission. If none of that's true, if she didn't ever promise to give me any footage or whatever, if they never said Netflix told them they can't, then the response wouldn't be, let me see what I can do. Okay? They had a problem. They knew that they had a problem. They told me they would give me footage, which now proves them to be deceptive and would probably end their documentary careers, to be honest with you. And then she wrote back and said, hey, Jaren, we were trying to get a hold of our agent, but he has been unresponsive on a number of issues. Sorry, we're working on it. So that's her trying to get a hold of the agent that would have some way of getting me some documentation. They never did, by the way. Never did. I never got anything from them, never got any footage. So yeah, this guy Matthew, he asked me about the additional footage. I said, you asked me about additional footage in writing. What about these texts? How are these texts not considered writing? I have lots of text messages regarding that. I think you might have meant like a contract. Maybe you can help me get at least the following. Can they just write a statement? I know they're not going to give me any money, so I just want a statement saying that they acknowledge that they promised to give me additional footage, that they then sold the documentary and had to rescind that promise. That's all I want. With that, I can make a video and show people why I cannot prove that they misrepresented my experiment. They can't prove me wrong by releasing that footage because they know that that is the truth, of course. maybe, anyway, I think Caroline might have emailed you. In my messages today, I mentioned talking to a lawyer and she wanted your email. So, by the way, that's another thing. She talked to him. So, I mean, maybe she talked to him and they talked to each other and decided, let's make sure this guy doesn't go after us. I don't know. He asked me about that. He says, Jaron, few questions. Was the promise that you could have the footage in writing? I don't see that release. Where do you live? And was the contract signed, released? I said, no, the promise was not in writing, but I really don't think they would deny it. You'll notice in the email that I asked her if I can get some proof of their claim that they cannot give me the additional footage, and she says she'll see what she can do. I lived at the time in Salinas. I live down here. I honestly, okay, that's good. So anyway, I think it's clear to anybody, unless they want to put their face in their hands and scream and not look and not listen, that, man, this is a long email. Who did I write this to? Well, that's the original one to the lawyer. Yeah, very long email. Don't need to read that with all those links at the bottom. So anybody should be able to see that it was Delta V. If I have to say that again, Delta V, do not do any business with them. They are deceivers. They've won now awards on the 2 documentaries that they use deceptive practices and lying to the members of the documentary in order to get those results. So in order to make their movies good, they will lie about you. They will lie about Wolfgang Halbig. They'll lie about me, misrepresent me, misrepresent the experiment, and completely lie to the entire audience. Everybody who's seen that movie has been lied to. Do you understand? There was nothing proven that night. Nothing was shown. It was not an observation that should even count for anything. Here's the equivalent of it. Imagine if we went there and we did 20 observations, and one time I saw it at 17 feet. Imagine me making a motherfucking movie saying that the earth is flat because there's that 17. That's the same thing. You guys would have endless problems with that, but you have no problem with Behind the Curve doing it. Why? I mean, I don't want to call you globe cucks, but a lot of the science people will just allow anything. They don't even have a problem with it. Like, well, what's the big deal? I mean, you're just a flat earther. Okay, but if we have people out there misrepresenting people, that's creating flat earthers. Okay, that's just like we have everybody who was deceived by Stephen Hawking and the National Geographic film and the one from PBS. How could Globers think that's a good idea? You are actually contributing to the growth of flat Earth. Okay, that's something I won't do. You won't see me doing that as a globe earther now. I don't want to contribute to the addition of more people becoming flat earthers. Okay, so I don't make up things about them. I don't lie about them. I don't say that they did one thing when they didn't, because I know that that'll just bring more people to them. So too bad that other Globers aren't like that. Too bad that they want to all run around and say interesting so much and think that they have something on me when they don't. They're laughable. They've taken an out of sequence, out of place, one observation of 20, and they think that that's proof of something. It's not. And this is the whole problem with the thing that from the very beginning that I saw, that this is what Globers do. They're not actually doing real science. They're doing pretend science and misrepresenting people and also using one out of 20. So it's baffling to me that I don't see flat earthers doing that. I mean, maybe they do, but I don't see it. I don't see flat earthers doing like they go and observe a bunch of things that they just take one observation and bring that back and say, look at this one thing shows it, when everything else showed it the other way. That's what Behind the Curve did. So that is about it. Caroline Clark, did I mention Caroline Clark and Daniel Clark, both pieces of garbage, liars, deceivers, and they don't deserve any of the money that they made for that documentary, and they don't deserve any accolades for it because it's a lie. So if you can't end your movie on something besides misrepresenting somebody and lying about somebody, then your movie's not good. Sorry. Your proof's not good. Sorry. If you guys had $10,000 to make this movie and you couldn't show the curvature of the earth without lying about somebody, then you're retarded. Give me $10,000. I'll show the curvature of the earth without needing to lie about somebody or misrepresent them. Okay. So, and a lot of this put bad taste in my mouth. This is why we had the entire thing we had with TFE going down there, that we needed to have a contract that specifically said certain things that I needed to make sure of because I'd already had this happen to me. So I knew I'm not signing anything that says, I'm not signing any NDA, not signing anything that says I can't say anything about this trip. I'm not signing anything that says that I have to keep something secret. In fact, I'll only sign a document that says all things must be in the open. And that's the document that I signed. So I do think we can learn from our mistakes. I believe I have. I'm still a little upset about this because of what the implications of it. Because I'm just as I'm upset about Stephen Hawking, just as I'm upset about Nat Geo. Those people kept me stuck in flat earth longer than I needed to be because they're liars. Do you understand? Do not lie to people you are actually creating more of a problem. You kept me as a flat earther because you lied to me. Okay. And I continue to lie to people in my audience or continue to tell them things that aren't true. Call that a lie if you want. I think a lie is more when you're doing it on purpose or you know that you're wrong. But in that particular case, I continued telling untruths to my audience because you guys lied to me. So the problem here isn't the flat earthers, it's you being liars. Just prove the shape of the earth. Why did nobody just say the sun goes the opposite way in the south than it does in the north? How does that work on a flat earth? Talk about the, what are they called? Hurricanes or tornadoes that have never crossed the equator one time. Why don't you bring that up? Why don't you show people that? How does that work on a flat earth? Why the hell would these storms not cross the equator? What the hell is the equator on a flat earth? There's nothing. Just an arbitrary line drawn in the middle. So there's reasons and things that could have been brought up that weren't, that now I see. And I'll spend some time doing that on my part. Hopefully I can get some people out because I'm not going to misrepresent and lie about people and their experiment, knowing that has a worse result than just not. Again, in their case, when you get this whole worldwide audience and you can lie about me and everybody sees it, I'll never be able to get my name back. I'll never be able to take back what they took, and that's done on purpose. And so I do think that I was owed by them monetary damages because they're liars. And if I lied about somebody and then made a bunch of money because I lied about them, I owe them money. Do you understand? But nobody will stand up for me. Nobody will say that. Nobody will ever say, oh yeah, Delta V owes Jaron money. They'll just say, yeah, well, they made a bunch of money and so what? They lied about you. Yeah, you're a flat earther. So am I impressed by any of that? No. Am I impressed by any Globers that have said interesting the entire time? No. Am I impressed by Simon Dan that still has that damn video up? No. Or the Godless Engineer, all the guys who have videos up about that interesting. And then they all say, well, look at Jaron's still a flat earther even though he proved the earth is curved. No, I'm a flat earther because I didn't prove the earth was curved and those fuckers lied about me. So of course I'm a flat earther until I went down and saw it for myself and realized, oh shit, okay, well I guess they were wrong. But it still doesn't change anything about this documentary. It doesn't change anything about my observation. Nothing was shown at Holt in the canal experiment, period. So that's about it. I'm going to head over to the after show. What time is it? 5:10. We'll start at 5:30. And I don't think I made the show yet, so you're not going to see it for a couple minutes. And that is about it. That's about it. Oh, change the screen. Sorry, I didn't see what am I on. You're not looking at me? What do you see on this screen? Oh, sorry. You don't want to see this lady? So that's about it. It's just a lesson in please don't do that to people. Please be a better person than that. I now realize, though, that the internet is a problem. The internet, it's probably the problem with the world, to be honest with you. Maybe we need to get into that at some point. That's very interesting that that's when everything changed. If you think back about it, really think about, like, is your life much better because of the internet? Really think about it. Is my life much better because of the internet? No, not really. Right? I don't know anybody that would really say that it is. Your life isn't better. Go back to the 80s and 90s. Was life better? Yeah. Used to eat dinner at home with my family, play outside, just have, but it wasn't this everybody's important. Everybody's got to say, you got to believe what I believe or else no, people believe different things and they were able to coexist. Now you got people that want to kill the other side because they believe something different than them. And I think it has a lot to do with the internet. It has a lot to do with radicalizing people who have various opinions, and then the gaslighting that goes on. And it's just a bad place. Think about this. Before in society, we had people who were inept as far as social groups, maybe dating, that kind of thing. So they stayed in their grandmother's basement, truly, and that's where they resided. And they knew not to go outside because when they did, they would get shunned or whatever. So they didn't go outside. And that's probably what should happen. But instead, we now gave all these people that live in their grandma's basements platforms to speak, to spew hate, to be in the comments, to be trolls, to be disgusting, to be yelling at women, calling them men. Things that you only would do if you have a demented soul and that you've never been with a woman in your entire life. You've never been able to tell the woman no. So then you see these women that are beautiful and you're like, oh, that's Cameron Diaz. She's actually a man. Jessica Alba, man. Megan Fox, man. These are the dirtballs of society that we've now given a platform where they can speak. And I think that it has a lot to do with the reason the country, the reason the world is going downhill is because of exactly that. Now, we've got people at the tops that are obviously psychopaths, which have a lot to do with it as well. But what they've done is they've now got everybody so mixed up and confused. It's what, the things that happen with these cases, whether it's Charlie Kirk's murder or whatever. I think the government feasts. They love any misinformation. They pretend like they don't, but they do, because any kind of misinformation like that just keeps people locked in, arguing between each other and never looking up and realizing where all the problems are, where all the spending problems are, where's our fucking money going, multiple billions of dollars going to Israel all the time. Nobody wants to talk about those things, right? People just want to argue about George Floyd and whether that matters at all, which it doesn't, or Breonna Taylor, or whoever they want to bring into your attention, so that you start thinking about that and stop thinking about who's really at fault for so-called racism, like the people who put all the blacks in the ghettos and where they can't get out, and they put them all there on purpose, and they put them all on food stamps and put them all on EBT, and then you wonder, why aren't these people working? Well, it's because you're paying them $1,700 a month to sit at home. So if they go get a job for $10 an hour or $15 an hour, they're not even going to make as much as the government pays them to sit at home. So don't be surprised when they sit at home. So the world is just pretty bad. And all I can do is continue to be honest in it. That's all you can do. Now, does it keep screwing me? Absolutely. Every time it does. I've realized that honesty is not the best policy as far as they say. It's still what I morally feel like I need to do. I do believe that we'll be judged. In the end, I believe we judge ourselves, but I believe that's because we are God. But that's my own thoughts. My own understanding of the world is that we are all a piece of the infinite mind that you can call God, or you can call consciousness, whatever you want to call it, is everywhere and everything. And the only way that God, or the consciousness, if you will, experiences anything is through us as avatars of it. And that's all this world is. It is a testing ground, an experiential ground where, I don't believe that, like Christians do, that God knows all things. I think that's the most ridiculous, stupid thing I've ever heard said in my life. There is nobody who knows the future, or that person doesn't exist. If I knew everything that would happen from now until the end of time, it would be like hell. That is hell. Why would you be living it? Why would you go through it again? If you knew every single thing that would happen from here to the end of time, you would be in hell. Okay, so God is not in hell. God does not agonize over the fact that he already knows everything, and he's just like sitting around like, fuck, I already know everything that's going to happen the next day and 2 days. No, God put people with free will, because free will eliminates the possibility of knowing the future. Now, don't get me wrong. The creator, God, or whatever, could set an arbitrary date for when this is all going to end. So he does know the end as far as that goes, but he cannot tell you what's going to happen between two free will beings. That's impossible. And so once people realize that the fantastical stories that they've been told out of a book that was written by ancient Hebrews that talks of a God who is jealous and vindictive and hateful, and he made wrath, and he brings pain, and he's a hellacious God, and he will set you on fire and kill you for touching his ark. That's not God. Okay, that is man's poor interpretation of that spirit that we're all a part of. And many people have chosen to go the atheistic way and just say that there is no creator and that this is all accidental. And I think that's obviously flawed. I just don't think that that's any chance of that. And I think that evidence of God is everywhere. Now, I don't mean God, the man. God is not a man. God does not have legs. He doesn't have eyes. He doesn't have nose. Those are human things. God is the consciousness that we have all inside of us. That voice that tells you when you're doing something wrong, or going against what's best or what's most loving. I've even had somebody say recently, and I had to think about this. I was like, man, maybe you're... So what if God, the idea of God, is also being constantly changed? So imagine if it is true what I'm saying about us all being in the peace of the infinite. So people always, oh, you pretend like you're God, you're just equal to God. No, God is in all of us. I'm me. So I'm not anywhere near God. I'm 1/8 billionth of a God. Whereas God is one God. So, I mean, you're talking about being infinitely much smaller than God. I cannot go inside you. Well, I mean, in another sense, I guess I can. But I'm talking about, like, I can't be an inborn spirit within you, like God is an inborn spirit in us. And so I think, anytime you pray, you are praying to yourself. You can ask yourself for strength. You can ask yourself for clarity. But we have people out there praying to the sky that their dog doesn't die in a whatever veterinary surgery or something. Well, you're not. That ain't going to work. Sorry, that's not the way things work. And I do think that there is power in multiples of us. Anytime you get people together, I think that great things can happen. I think that that's why they did, direct that into sports. They direct that into things like that so that you burn out that God energy. If anybody's ever think back to a time in your life that you've felt euphoric or like something you can't really explain, it's untangible, it's a spiritual moment. Almost everybody has those moments, and they're all in groups. They're either in church, they're either at some concert, they're at a baseball game, they're at some event. And I do believe that is the coming together of many of the same force, God's force. And if you can get thinking on the right track, this is ultimately why the law of attraction works. This is ultimately why we can manifest, is because there is nothing else besides us that is able to do that. Like as far as thinking and bringing things into reality seems to be how we got here. The sound or thought or whatever of it is what brought us here. And so I do think we can use that ourselves, but you have to be careful. I always hear people say something like, well, that'll never happen, or there's no chance of that happening. I'm like, well, yeah, you've now introduced that into the matrix, if you will. Don't say things like that. Be positive, put steps forward in the right direction, and things will usually fall into place for you. And I think that that's kind of an ultimate working of the Creator. So that's my opinion of that. But I do think that science has some things right too. The problem with science is they look at religion and say that's a joke. They're correct. But then they say because it's a joke, because there's a bunch of people are wrong about it, doesn't mean that there is no Creator. You've just eliminated, just because the Bible is proven false, okay, great. That doesn't mean there's no Creator. People built the Bible. People wrote the Bible. People printed the Bible. People handed out the Bible. So the Bible's wrong. It's man-made. Okay, great. So it shouldn't be surprising of that. And I think the fact that we're in a world that there's still people out there that think a book is divine when it is clearly not is a problem. How do we handle those people? I don't know. They are stuck in a world of delusion themselves to think that there's, talking snakes, or that there's, the God's in there advocating for slaves to treat their slave owners, no matter how bad they are to them, like as if they're Jesus Christ. Who said that? Slave owners. Of course. So slave owners wrote the Bible, or people who say give to Caesar what is Caesar's. Who's telling people to give to Caesar? That's, again, the government telling people that. God is not telling you to give your money to Caesar. Okay. Just like all governments are placed there by God. To go against government is go against God. You will receive damnation for going against government. No, God never said that. Clearly, man said that. Clearly, government said that because they want to be seen as gods. So they said, put in there that all governments are put there by God, and to go against them is to go against God. And that we're only there for their good and not for their bad. And if they want to be good in the government's eyes, then be good. And if you're bad, then we'll get you with the sword. Again, God never said that. It's people who said that. God never authored that, never said anything close to that. I don't even think God has spoken to anybody ever. Which is what Jesus said. Jesus said, no man has seen God's face or heard his voice. Yet the Old Testament tells us that Moses saw his face, and Abraham, and all these people he walked with, and Enoch. And nope, Jesus came and said something different, didn't he? He also said that, God said the Sabbath is, for man, you have to adhere to the Sabbath. Then when they saw somebody picking up sticks on that day, they said, God, what do we do with this guy? And God said, stone him to death. Okay, thanks. So we stone people that work on the Sabbath. New Testament comes along. Jesus is working on the Sabbath, picking wheat. The Pharisees comes over and say, hey, you're not allowed to do that. What do you? And Jesus says, you don't understand. The Sabbath was built for man, not man for the Sabbath. Completely in odds against God of the Old Testament. So, in my opinion, Jesus was a man. Jesus did come to earth. Jesus did start to expose the fact that the God of the Old Testament is not the God, and he got hung for it. You think the Jews are going to let him say that the Jehovah is not the God of the world? No way. So he got hung for that, and they misrepresented him. Notice the pattern there, right? And that's, I think, what happened with Jesus. So anyway, I was getting to the point when I said maybe God is evolving. So somebody said, what if, so our thoughts are what creates the world, and if we're all a piece of God, then whatever we collectively kind of come up with is God, would be what would go into the Bible and people would believe. Again, it's just man's current representation of him. So maybe God was this character in their minds. It was like bossy and telling them to do this, this, and this. And then they realized that wasn't getting very far. God wasn't able to control the world that way. So they had to bring God to earth. So they created Jesus. So think about it, like then it's saying that the God of the Old Testament did do those things. He was wicked. He was telling you to kill animals in exchange for earthly whatever, for sacrifices. But that was because at the time, that's what the mankind thought was God. Do you see what I'm saying? That collectively we create the idea of God. So back then they created this idea of a deity who needed blood sacrifice, who watched you all the time, who always saw what you did, flooded the world, all these things, which make no sense in reality, but you can start to see where, if it's just the mind of mankind coming together kind of collectively to create this idea of God, then you would see how that idea would change about 2,000 years ago to no longer needing a God in the sky that you worship. You would need a God on earth, and you would try to, and then everything changed. It went from eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, to turn the other cheek, love your neighbor. Those are different things. How are they the same religion? Oh, God says eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. You do this, I'll kill you, kill this person, kill that person. God says, and then God comes down to earth and says, love your neighbor, love your enemies. Do as to others as you would like done unto you. No, it seems like there was a change in the idea of God that people collectively come forward with, and so they changed it. And maybe that's happening again right now. Who knows? Just interesting stuff. That is the name of the show. Interesting. I said 5:30. It's going to be, let's go with 5:45 now, since I'm going to be heading out now. And what time is it? 5:25 or 35? 25. Yeah, it's good. 5:45. We'll be back. Join us on the panel. If you want to join us, go to go to youtube.com/@jeranism/join, or just click the Jeranism channel somewhere, and then the join button. It's $5 a month. You get to come hang out with me once a week as we do this panel show and see what people have got to say. And if they want to add on to the Daniel Clark is a Dirtball Foundation or the Carolyn Clark is a Piece of Shit Foundation, both of them are accepting donations right now. All right. Much love to you guys. It's been interesting. We'll see you again next week for another episode Friday at 3 Pacific. Much love. We'll see you guys shortly. I'll talk to you over there. And remind you to do your own research. When you do, you'll never again believe that you can't tell the shape of the ground by looking at the lights in the sky. You can, and they tell you that you live on a sphere. Much love. Peace.
Welcome to Interesting Test. Welcome to Interesting Test. Welcome to Interesting. Interesting.
Stop stressing, depression, your chest is congested. Such a blessing, confessing, interestingly digesting. Sandy Hook, Aurora, pulse that club tricks, gun control, false flags, pushing politics. Thomas Crooks is on the roof, ready for the shot. Wait, how did he get up there without being caught? Shit.
January 6th was a psyop, CA actors all around. Gaslit on 9/11, how did building 7 come down? Shout out to Stoneman, Douglas, another ruse. Fuck the MK Ultra asset and Patty Nicoons. The Boston bombing finish line wasn't any fun. No, was that time Vegas at Rebellion 91. Memele Paddock, had cases filled with gas, San Bernardino black SUV, where the fuck you at? Morning attack, you waited 6 hours, and then you went back? Nah! Gabby Gifford was shot straight through the brain. Mark Kelly lived for surgery to fly the shuttle. Hustle lame Stonehenge, how'd you get the rock so high? With this crank, gritty ease, or what a lie. Shout out to Charlie and Ashley, baby, too. Sucks that your children have to grow up without you.
Welcome to Interesting Test. Welcome to Interesting Test.